Welcome to Radio City Music Hall, the showplace of the nation, for the Mike and the Mad Dog Reunion Show, presented by Empire City Casino, benefiting the Garden of Dreams Foundation. Are you ready? Well, let's get started.
Hey, Mike, Mad Dog. It's Andrew from Queens, longtime governor, first-time caller. It's great to see that the two of you have finally hit the big time at Radio City. But don't forget where you started. The Mike and Mad Dog Show was born in a basement studio in Queens. That was the secret to your success. I can think of a couple of other careers that got their start in Queens: Tom Seaver, Joe Namath, Dwight Gooden, Simon and Garfunkel, and a couple of guys named Cuomo. Congratulations on your reunion. It only took 8 years. But maybe it goes to show that if Mike and Mad Dog can get together, even for a day, there's hope for the Democrats and the Republicans in this country. On behalf of New York State, I want to thank you for holding this spectacular event that will support a really great charity, the Garden of Dreams Foundation. For 10 years, the foundation has brightened the lives of more than 275,000 children facing challenges such as homeless, poverty, illness, and foster care. That's a home run, a slam dunk, a hat trick, and a Hail Mary pass all rolled into one. It's a good cause. Thank you for helping.
The idea of a Mike and the Mad Dog reunion has been discussed really since the day we split up.
How can you not be excited? A reunion of Mike and the Mad Dog, a special night at Radio City after 8 years, full house, we'll be into it. Doing this show for two reasons. The cause is superb. The Garden of Dreams, they get right in there and do good things, building basketball courts in dilapidated neighborhoods. And they're hands-on.
The money that is raised, all of it goes to do the good work.
So the Garden of Dreams and the fan interest in this brings us together on this special night.
Everything came together. Right people, right place, right time.
Mike and the Mad Dog, Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
1989, the station was very much falling apart at the seams. It just didn't have a New York heart to it.
You have to have New Yorkers talking about New York or it doesn't work.
I was playing basketball, walking in the streets of New York somewhere to a gym.
They came to me on a Friday in the summer, and they said,
Chris, we got an idea for you that I think you're gonna like.
how would you like to go to afternoon drive? And I said, I'm in. And they said, no, we have a team we want to put together.
And my first reaction was, wow, really?
And I said, no, how about give me a shot by myself?
And I thought that maybe I was gonna get the show by myself.
And they said, listen, you can go as part of a team or not at all.
You're not getting in alone, Mike. You're not getting in alone, Chris.
So it was very much a shotgun marriage and a rocky one at that in the beginning.
Driving home that first day, I thought it was a career-ending decision. It was some of the worst radio I'd ever heard.
There were a lot of people pulling us in different directions. A lot of the critiques were negative.
It was daunting. There was some trial and error. I think by the end of that first calendar year, we were in pretty good shape.
Within 6 months, we had skyrocketed all the way to the top, something that they said could never happen. And then we knew that whether we liked it or not, we were together and we were tied at the hip.
Mike was the super knowledgeable, encyclopedic New York sports guy.
They beat Romo, they beat Favre, and they beat Brady in the last 3 games.
And the beauty of Chris was he was just that guy that popped off and said whatever was in his mind.
I mean, why waste my time? Every single freaking year, I get myself juiced up with this stupid team, and at 43 years of age and 3 kids, enough already.
So they thought I was the nutcase who knew nothing about sports, and Mike was the encyclopedia guy who wasn't funny. And I don't think people realize that, Russo knows more about sports than I thought, and Mike's a lot funnier than I thought.
Canada Jones takes 2 minutes to go to the bathroom.
But it doesn't take you 5 minutes.
Yes, it does.
At Yankee Stadium?
No, at Fenway Park, it takes 2 hours.
Mike, we're talking about Yankee Stadium here.
It can take a while to go to...
Cut it.
Oh, yes,
Mike,
it can.
What are you, nuts?
Having the big coach, the big manager, before the big game, was what Mike and the Mad Dog was all about.
Mike Krzyzewski joins Mike Francesa, Christopher Russo, and a fan.
Commissioner Bud Selig with us now, the Commissioner of Baseball.
Head coach of the New York Knicks, Rick Pitino, is with us.
Joined by the head football coach of the Giants, Tom Coughlin.
Derek is joining us here on Sports Radio 66.
Mike, I love Torrey. He's done a tremendous job, but Joe, you're not coming clean.
They really were an incredibly powerful voice. It was almost like a bridge between the newspaper columnist era and now the internet era, where they defined a period where sports talk radio had the most influence over things actually happening. The Mets getting Piazza being one example, because the owners and the GMs were all listening to him.
Mike and the Mad Dog Sports Talk Show talking to the President of the United States, and he joins us.
I feel like Mike and the Mad Dog, I belong on a show like that.
It was kind of must-listen radio, and it was radio that people were talking about.
Growing up in Brooklyn, Mike and the Mad Dog was the only show to listen to. It was the show for New York sports.
They got every important guest, especially when a big story broke.
It was always just entertaining to listen to them in the car. There was always these battles again, you know, Bernie's good, no, he's not that good. Oh, yeah, he's good, no, he's not that good.
Sometimes they would disagree on stuff, so it was fun listening.
A lot of us players would listen to what they had to say. They had us on their shows.
Mike and the Mad Dog, they're all New York.
They were just the eyes and ears and the knowledge of sports.
One of the greatest duos ever. I love Mike and Mad Dog. I love those guys. And it's great that they're getting together for one night only.
Not only are they getting back together, they're getting back together at Radio City Music Hall.
The fans who are here tonight, they're going to just enjoy seeing Mike and I together again doing a show.
It's a big New York night. A lot of folks there that we've had as guests, family, friends, and a lot of our listeners. The lights would be low, and all of a sudden you'd hear that very familiar music start to come up, and
Mike and the Mad Dog, WFAN.
Not bad, huh? Look up there. Hello, everybody.
Nice to see you.
Sit down, sit down. Thank you all for coming. 8 years in the making. We'll call this 8 years after. How about that?
8 years, Mike? Is Matt Harvey gone to the bathroom yet?
I want to know one thing,
yes.
And so do these folks. Where have you been for 8 years?
They all want to know that. But I'm back now, baby! How are you all doing out there today in Radio Land? Everything okay? Did we ever think on a Tuesday on September 5th or 6th in 1989 that, 26 years later, haven't been together for 8 years, we'll be sitting here playing Radio City Music Hall, for crying out loud.
Think about that, Radio City Music Hall, and hello to everybody up there. Nice to see you, thank you. But on this stage, James Cagney, Frank Sinatra,
yeah,
Liberace, and Russo.
1932, right? 1932?
Two more Italians.
It is great to be here, though. We're going to give you a good sports talk program tonight. We're going to have some fun, a little reminisce. We got some great guests and all you guys who obviously a tremendous cause, so we all appreciate that. Okay.
Listen.
Where do you want to begin?
Well, listen, where we begin is, I guess, back at the beginning, because as you saw in the video, did you like the video?
Yeah. Video's good.
And the video tells the truth, because if you go back and Mark Mason, who's in the... Where is Mark Mason, as a matter of fact, sitting? Sit up. Stand up, Mark.
Mark
He's the guy
Mason,
who created the show. Where's Mark? There's Mark right there. Well, it was Mark Mason who came up with this crazy idea. And I remember on a weekend, I was sitting in for Pete. And we love you, too. And I was sitting in for Pete, who had been ill. And Mark Mason said, listen, you wanted to go to the afternoon drive. I think it can happen. But one thing, you can't go alone. And I said, what do you got in mind? And he told me. And he said, you have the weekend to think about it. And my thoughts weren't great, as a matter of fact. And Dog thought the same thing.
Yes,
and
I did.
When they put us together, it didn't work out very well for about 3 or 4 weeks. And then we had this contest called Dog Date Afternoon that kind of melded things together, and the show took off from there. And we made it together for 19 years, and the fights, maybe 3 or 4. Most of which, in the last 10 years, Rose solved.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
You're getting married solved is what happened.
That solved a big one. We would have broke up 5, 10 years before, as a matter of fact. But through all the thick and thin, we had a lot of fun. We lasted 19 great years together because of really all of you. So we thank you for that.
And Mike, we should do it second. Mike gave you a good feel. We did a contest in the fall of '89. And in that contest, I was single at the time. I was 30-something years of age, and my lovely wife is here tonight. But I was single at the time, and Mike said, we got to get Doggy a date. And you know, me being a sap, who knows? Maybe it would be Meryl Streep who would want to go out with me, for crying out loud. So we did a contest in where women had to write on a postcard.
I guess this is going to be a long story. I'll be back, folks.
Why they wanted to go out with Christopher Russo. Our producer, after all these years,
I need to get something to drink.
You know, hundreds of... After hundreds and hundreds of them, picked out a card, and Mike picked the winner. And so on a Heisman Trophy night, the year Andre Ware won, but lo and behold, I got in a limo. I went to Queens, and Mike set everything up. I picked up my date for the night, and I went to go see Cats.
What else would a dog see but cats?
Cats. That was, I know it sounds wacky, but that was a very, Mike with the Diet Cokes here tonight, fan. Say something funny, Mike.
Some things never change, folks.
But that really broke the ice with the two of us.
That did kind of start it off, as a matter of fact. And like we said, through the thick and thin, through 19 years, through a lot of great New York moments, which we're going to relive tonight with our guests. You know, we got a lot of great athletes in the audience who, if we get to, they won't be happy because, you know, we'll wind up making fun of them if we get to them. But we got a lot of friends here, a lot of family, a lot of great athletes in the audience. But we got a bunch of folks who kind of play into the narrative of our 19 years together. Great moments, great coaches like Tom Coughlin, Joe Torre, Jeff Van Gundy, Bobby Valentine, Mark Messier, as a matter of fact. All winners, all champions, and they'll come back and kind of share some of the times with us. But also, we want to give you what a show would sound like if Mike and the Mad Dog were working together in March of 2016. So that's what this will sound like tonight also.
All right, let's start there, all right? We have the Final Four this weekend. We have Villanova and Oklahoma. Villanova and Oklahoma played in the early in the year. And we have North Carolina, of course, in a great matchup against Syracuse. What a job. I didn't think Syracuse should have been in the tournament. For crying out loud.
Hey, listen, that's college athletics in 2016. 4 teams and only 2 of them in jail when they go to the Final Four.
But I think we both agree it's North Carolina's tournament to win.
Yes, absolutely it is. I think they're the best team. But how about Syracuse? They've had a great tournament. They really have.
Oh, my gosh. They got the break of all time that Michigan State lost.
Oh, a lot of Syracuse fans here, huh? Not really.
Yeah, Syracuse.
How about Villanova?
Villanova? Did they get the break of all time, though, with Michigan State losing in that first round? Michigan State should be in this tournament. Yeah, and Syracuse would not be here if Michigan State didn't get beat.
He's hitting me again. It's like you just, you know. It's like...
So, we agree with North Carolina?
What do we agree?
They're going to win a championship.
Yes, I think so. Who did you pick before the tournament started?
Michigan State.
That's it, Michigan State. Kiss of death, okay?
I'm the anchor of all
Kiss of death, Michigan State. But I did pick North Carolina, so I got to stick with it.
You picked North Carolina?
Yes, I did.
You never liked Carolina with bad
I thought they were the best team. I thought they were the best team.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Who do you like on the other side?
I have no one else left except North Carolina. But
I had Oklahoma.
I didn't. I picked Duke.
You picked really?
Yeah,
After
what a dumb
last
shit.
year,
I
you
didn't
went
like
Duke
anybody.
again?
And I picked Wichita State.
That was, that was a good pick.
They only won a couple of games. And I picked Virginia. What a choke job that was.
Virginia.
How bad was that? I mean,
that's what the tournament's been about, comebacks. How about Northern Iowa? Did you coach in that game, Northern Iowa?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, the guy on the end line looked like you.
And a 12-point lead, 48 seconds to go, for crying out loud. Mike, where you going?
Listen, I'm just trying to get to midnight. That's the only thing, you know that? Yeah, after 8 years, I'm just counting the minutes, folks. That's it. They asked me when I want to do this again. I said, when hell freezes over, okay?
Let's give them the second event. I think the Giants.
Whoa.
That first Super Bowl.
Not
my
San
baseball.
Francisco.
No, the Giant football. I'm going to get to
Have you noticed one thing?
I'm getting to that Giant baseball sometime.
Have you noticed? Dog was here. You saw that great bit. Oh, I'll never win. I'll never win. Woe is me. He leaves. He wins 3 championships in 5 years.
And I can't scream to anybody, for crying out loud.
The only thing is, nobody knew that they won.
You're right about that. Here it is. I got years and years and years of Yankee baseball and a payroll and
yeah, Yankee baseball.
See, Bernie Williams. Oh, did Mike love Bernie? Bernie. I got to put up with this for years. Pink Cadillacs, championship after championship, and the Giants finally win something.
Win 3.
And I'm serious, for crying out loud. Oh my God. But anyway, that Giant Buffalo. That was a big deal for us. It was a year and a half in.
Right.
We traveled all over the country.
Yep.
We went to the Giants-Niners game, went to the
We did.
game.
On the way home, we took a red-eye, and you freaked out on a plane in the middle of the night. Remember that?
Not the first time.
Not the first time.
Yeah.
We went through Cleveland and landed in Tampa about 5 o'clock in the morning. And then you made one of the great predictions of all time. Never forget it.
What'd I say?
Buffalo 49, Giants 13.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
True story.
I did.
True story.
I absolutely.
Dog hated, he loved the Bills in that offense, because Dog loves offense. So that Friday, we have to give the predictions, and George Young was with us that Friday.
The late, great George Young. Remember that, 505?
Bill Parcells and Ron Earhart were preparing for the game on Saturday morning, and he said to me, what did that blankety-blank pick, meaning you? And I told him, and he goes, 49-13? He goes, I would have killed myself on the sideline by 30.
Yes, I did. I was so in love. We were watching that Buffalo-Oakland game at Candlestick Park because the Giants played the 49ers. And Buffalo scored 51 that day. They killed the Raiders. There was also no week off that year because of the war.
Yep.
We fly to Tampa. Mike's at the 50-yard line. I'm behind the goalpost, by the way. But not true?
You're cheap.
But anyway, I was so convinced that there's no way Buffalo can lose this game and the Giants win the game, of course, 20-19. That was a big deal because we did that show at the Hyatt before there was Radio Row.
Yep.
And how about all those Giant fans that came to the Hyatt that day?
That was a great one, and then the Giants came back and had some great ones against the Pats, obviously, which is why Tom Coughlin's here tonight.
I think something else that people forget about now, it's 5 years into our relationship, the spring of '94. And we're talking mess about it.
Wow.
Remember that?
Yeah, think about how long ago it is, huh? I mean, you're talking a long time, and for Knick fans, it's been a long time. Long.
21 years.
I got Alan here. Alan, long time.
We're going to talk to Alan in a minute with that great shot with Van Gundy. But think about it. We had the Rangers go all the way, win their first Stanley Cup since 1940. And then we had the Knicks.
Hey, Adam Graves is in the
yes, he
stand.
is. Graves is in the house.
Remember the series where you wanted Adam Graves arrested? Remember that?
Because that's another one. That's a good story.
Because he's slashing...
That's right. Lemieux.
Lemieux, yeah.
Adam, in the 93, I think it was 92 or 93.
92.
Against the Penguins. Graves got suspended 3 games because he slashed Lemieux.
Right. You wanted him arrested.
Oh, I wanted Adam Graves. I was rooting for the Penguins, for crying out loud. You know that. Anyway, Adam got 3 games, and I wore a yellow sweater the next time Pittsburgh played the Rangers, a bright yellow, one of those Brooks Brothers sweaters, and I had been on the radio for what, a week, killing poor Adam. And I got destroyed by those Blue Cedars at Madison Square Garden that night. You remember that? Because I didn't think that, I thought Adam Graves deserved to get suspended. Plus the Rangers lost, which was another problem.
I heard about it, but I never sat up there, so I don't know.
No, I know that. You know. But the Rangers and the Knicks, they won in 94.
Many trips through Vancouver, Houston, we all know that. So that was a great year.
Well, tell them about me wanting to root for the Rockets.
What do you mean you? You never rooted for, I had a call yesterday. The guy has never rooted for a New York team for one day in his life.
Isn't that amazing?
Now, you did 20 years in New York on the air and not one time rooted for a New York team. Not one day. Not one day. And we were in Houston, and I said, let's get Game 6 and get out of here. No. Nothing would be better than Game 7. And we had to stick in Houston for 3 extra days waiting for Game 7 when Kenny Smith, who couldn't buy a shot for 6 games, finally made some shots in Game 7.
Remember, the Knicks went down, and that was with the O.J. thing, that series. Knicks go back to Houston, are up 3-2. Game 6 was a Sunday night. John Starks, the great John Starks.
Where is John? John's here, too,
John's here. John Starks. Where's Johnny? Johnny took a 3, down 2, and maybe down 1.
That's what John came here to hear. This is what he came here to hear.
Well, I'm not going to go to Game 7. He took a 3 with about 10 seconds to go with a chance to win a championship. Did not make it. And that means we had to stay in Houston an extra couple days. So what I wanted was the 7th game, Houston, Texas, and the Knicks won in the 4th quarter. What I got was the 7th game, and Houston won in the 4th quarter, winning the NBA championship.
Oh, it was terrible.
That was a great trip, though. That was a great trip. And then you insisted we'd be on the float for the Rangers with the Stanley Cup.
I hadn't won any part of that. That was you. You wanted to do radio on there. What are you kidding? You always want to do remotes.
I love the remotes.
That's it. No matter where. We could have gone to, Timbuktu and done a remote.
How about the time we did remotes at the El Conquistador?
During a hurricane.
During a hurricane.
That's it.
We did a remote.
And they're dealing blackjack on the floor in the dining room.
And it was funny. The wind was blowing. It was 100-mile-an-hour winds. And we were doing a show from a big conference room. And Mike said, "Dog, you see that catamaran?" "Yeah, I see it, Mike. Why don't you go sailing it for crying out loud?" That was funny. That was funny, Mike. Laugh again, please.
I thought I got rid of all this, folks, I'll tell you. But tonight, we have a great show for you. We thank everybody for their generosity, for coming. We'll get it all rolling, and we're going to do that in just a second here. 3 hours. Now, tonight the show is on MSG. Tonight the show is on The Fan. And tonight the show is on Sirius.
Sirius XM, 182.
Absolutely. And everybody, no boo, stop it.
Don't boo that great company, please. Come on.
Stop it.
We're all happy tonight.
And we want to tell you how you can make a donation to the great charity, because that's why we're here. First of all net proceeds tonight from tonight's event will go to the Garden of Dreams Foundation that MSG does a terrific job with. Since it began in 2006, Garden of Dreams has brightened the lives of more than 275,000 children and their families. Now, fans, wherever you're watching, listening tonight, can text the word reunion, as in, should be one night reunion, to 72727.
Really? I thought it was coming back. What are you killing me for crying out loud?
I'm getting ready to retire. You can come back all you want.
Exactly.
To make a tax-deductible donation to the Garden of Dreams, the foundation works with 25 partner organizations throughout the area, including hospitals, wish organizations, community-based organizations, to reach children who are facing challenges, homelessness, poverty, illnesses, foster care. They do a great job helping the kids, which is what it's all about. Tonight, we've already put over $1 million in the bank thanks to you, so thank you. You deserve a big hand for that. And as we said, we got a busy show. We got questions that we will get to that people sent in through social media. We will get to those throughout the festivities. And we have plenty of guests for you and a lot of other things, as we will take you right up until 11 o'clock. And first up, though, let's watch this little video.
Leading your team to the Super Bowl is the NFL's greatest achievement. Tom Coughlin did it twice in 4 years and won. In 2004, when he took over the struggling New York Giants, Coughlin helped right the ship of one of sports' greatest franchises. He led the team to multiple NFC East Division titles and is one of 13 coaches in the history of the sport to win multiple Super Bowls.
Wide open Tyree makes the catch.
Widely regarded as one of the most successful and admired coaches in NFL history, Tom Coughlin is a New York sport icon in every sense of the word.
And how about a tremendous ovation for a future Hall of Fame coach, Tom Coughlin, tonight?
That's nice.
Coach, how
That's nice.
Big hand, folks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You long earned
Thank
that,
you.
Tom. You know that? You earned that times 2, as a matter of fact.
Thank you. Appreciate
Great
it,
to
Mike.
see you, Coach. How you doing, okay?
Nice to see you, Chris. Very nice. Very nice.
Have you transitioned? How's the transition been?
Transition is the word. That's right. Not retired. I'm transitioning. Joe Brown's retiring after 50 years in the NFL. He sent me a note. Joe said, "You're transitioning. You're not retired."
There you go.
No doubt.
Have you missed the little meetings with the free agents? Give me a little rundown there.
You miss all that stuff. You know, the first thing you miss is your routine. You know, the routine is what keeps you going. I mean, 4:30 in the morning and so on and so forth. But it's a very good, very solid routine, and you have to work your way into a new one. But all the things that have passed by, I was at Indianapolis for the Combine. I was at the competition committee meetings prior to the league meetings. So, you know, I've been involved. I've been busy, and sometimes I don't know what I'm busy about, but I've been busy.
Well, you have a charity, which we'll get to in a minute, which you do a great job with. You started many years ago. But, you know, the Hall of Fame will beckon in a couple of years, 5 to be exact, unless you come back and coach again, which, you know, who knows. 2 great wins, 2 historic wins, especially the upset. You know, when you think back to the upset of the undefeated Pats, you know, one of the great upset games, one of the great games, not just in Giant history, but NFL history.
Absolutely.
When you go back to that game, Coach, what do you think about? What's your thought that you think about when you think about that game?
Well, the first thing I thought about was watching the catch with Tyree and how hard I worked with Tyree on making that catch. Took a long time to get him. And then Justin Tuck is downstairs, and I saw Justin's name fly up in the picture there as well. But when you look back and you think back to that, you think of the 16th game, first of all, when we played the Patriots, and when I said without a doubt that the New York Giants, the famous New York Giants franchise, will not be in a game with a team that's undefeated, and for history be recorded that we did not play all out.
I agree with that. Because that was a big debate, as you remember.
Big debate.
Yes, big debate.
People had sides in that.
Yeah, we know. We argued it a lot.
Mike and I fought that a lot, yeah.
And remember, we lost 2 players in that game. They came back.
Reuters, the center, right?
Yeah, O'Hara. O'Hara got hurt. That's right.
There's Justin Tuck. You see him there?
We lost.
When you prepared that week for that game, when you got to Saturday, the night before that Super Bowl, were you confident?
We were. And I'm always confident based on how our team prepares and how we practice. After that 16th game of the season, we knew we could play with them. Now, that was a whole different ball game. That was 38-35.
Yeah, great game.
And, of course, the Super Bowl was going to be totally different.
Right.
But the idea of playing a team that was 18-0, a great football team that had literally blown people away all year long, and then to rise up. But you know what's the key, Mike and Chris, is when you watch this year's Super Bowl, you remember how we won Super Bowl 42 and 46.
Defense.
You knocked the quarterback down.
Pass rush.
You pass rush. You knocked the quarterback down. Tuck is out there. I've got a great picture in my office, and here it is with Brady laying on the ground with 91, 92, and 72 are walking back to the defensive line.
Wow, that's a good shot.
Yeah.
You know, why don't you, Mike and I are at the game. How about the cold of Green Bay 2 weeks prior to that? In the famous picture of you, the 2 famous pictures.
I still got a little of that going, yeah. You know what was interesting about that? You know, I went out pregame, and okay, it's minus 24. No gloves, no hat, nothing on my ears. I went out, I was out there about 30 seconds, and I said, how in the hell am I going to get back inside to get these? But by halftime, you made the adjustment. And in the second half, I didn't even feel it in the second half.
Now, you do it once, but you come back and you do it to the Pats again.
Yeah,
so to do it the second time, I mean, to win the second Super Bowl, that separates you when you win the second Super Bowl.
And they were a great team again. And both games ended, as everybody out here knows, the same way.
Yep.
And the ball in the air and a shot at the deep ball. It happened in 42 and it happened again in 46. I couldn't quite see in the last one. And if you notice, remember they came at it a little bit different. Instead of being a 3-1, they were 2-2. And up in the air they go. And he threw a rocket, not the lofted arcing ball. And I thought, uh-oh. And the ball did tip and started down, which you don't want. And, of course, Antrell banged into Hernandez there, and the ball hit the ground.
Just like Moss. You know, it's funny, too. That was another great championship game, Mike. The game in San Francisco. They had a great defense.
One of the hardest hitting games I ever remember that game.
Oh, and the respect that Eli got throughout the league because of that game.
Took a beating.
He got beat up and hung in there and won the game.
Yeah, you know, his durability, his ability to be there every week, Coach. You know, people don't pay enough attention to how hard it is to be there every single week.
Right. You're exactly right. And to be able to count on that every week, and, you know, he's had games where, you know, his shoulder was hurt that one time, and everybody thought, well, he wouldn't play. He played, you know, he's played them all. And the fact that he's always there is a huge, huge comfort level for the coaches as they get ready to prepare.
Let's talk for a second about your transformation. You know, there was a couple of times we didn't know how long Tom would be here, and then you became a big-time players coach. You know, that right before, and you made a big adjustment. You've been coaching for a long time, great at BC with Jacksonville, and then you had to sort of get more into the player mind. Give me some thoughts about that.
And I did, and Pat Hanlon, God bless him. Pat was the guy who really helped me at the end of the year, if you guys remember.
Yep.
But also, it was time for us to make that little bit of change because, you know, I had, in the jobs that I had as a head coach, I knew exactly what I was getting into. And when we started in New York, it was the same way. 4-12, didn't play well the year before, quit in a lot of games and all kinds of injuries. So you start tough. You don't start on the easy way. But I remember Charles Way saying to me, Coach, let them see how you are with your grandkids. You know, while you're playing in the grass and throwing the ball around and doing that stuff after a practice or something. But I sat and I met with members of the media, and we talked about, you know, gloves were off. You know, it was, you know, I don't like you, you don't like me, but what can I do to help? And what really hit me hard was that the people that I talked to were blue-collar workers. They want to do the job to the best of their ability. I wasn't helping them do their job to the best of their ability to the extent that I could. And, you know, I mean, there's no way they're going to get all the information, you know that, but give them enough so that they have an opportunity to do their job. And so from that, and then with the players and starting with the, you know, the leadership council, and of course, Strahan, winning Strahan over, that was huge as well.
You know, the one thing, though, Tom, which was fair with the media, and coaches play favorites, and they manipulate the media, they play favorites. You never got into those games.
No,
that wasn't your way. You never played one against the other or favored one against the other. That wasn't your way.
I never believed in that, and whatever we were trying to be fair, and I didn't have any phone numbers, and I didn't get things leaked out that I wanted leaked out. None of that.
And some coaches are masters at that, as you know.
Question.
I mean, all the time. Let me get to one other thing, which is, I know, not the easiest subject. Coaching these guys now, even a guy as talented as Beckham is, it's difficult. I mean, isn't it hard nowadays? I mean, it seems like that you have to almost back off with these guys now, that they won't tolerate certain stuff. Can you coach those players the way you always wanted to coach those players?
Well, you do have to change because the millennials are a different breed. They're a different group. They've been raised differently. They're multitaskers. They can do a lot of things. You know, in my experience has been they're very, very smart. But you got to coach differently. You know, it's not the same. You can present and get things done the way you want them done. You just have to go about it a little bit differently. But my experience has been, because of veteran players introducing to younger players how the coaching staff operates, they've really made it easier on me because they came to us, the young ones, with the idea that, you know, this guy is going to coach us to the best of his ability, and there's no agenda. And that has helped us along the way.
You know, I wasn't focused as much about it since I wasn't doing the radio in New York, but I got the impression this year you hadn't even made a decision, didn't think about it, could care less about it. I got to worry about the Eagles in week 17, that you didn't even think about your future until almost the next morning, or maybe even driving home after that game against the Eagles in week 17.
Well, I tried never to do that, because the most important thing in my obligation was to get my team ready to play, and we did that. And that's the thing that I'm most proud of about this team is, you know, you guys can verify this. We played hard in every game. Now, you know, you lose 8 games by 6 points or less, you know, you figure somehow, some way, you're going to win 2 or 3 of those, right, and then we wouldn't have to be talking about this, but it didn't happen.
Does it bother you that the Giants went out and spent $200 million on defense the year after
I don't worry. Well,
it bothered me, I can tell you that much. I'm driving a 52 Ford. Here come 3 Maseratis.
Well, what bothers me is we know that you're not going to win a championship without great defense. You gotta do something about that. It didn't happen. Now it's happening.
What was your take on Carolina against Denver? You know, the Broncos had a lot of trouble moving the football. Cam didn't really get himself. I know the Bronco defense. Cam didn't handle himself that great either after the game. What was your take on how Denver played against Carolina?
Well, they showed you the way again. I mean, nobody expected that to be played to that extent. You knew it was going to be a defensive game, but to that extent, they did an outstanding job, and really, Carolina just had struggled to find the right answers.
That defense played great. Now, you have time now, and you've always done it, but you created the J Fund, your own charity. We're here, obviously, for the Garden of Dreams.
Thank you.
You've done a lot of work with your charity. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I know this year especially, you're dedicating a lot more of your time to your J Fund.
I am, and I want to congratulate this crowd, by the way, for coming out tonight for this. This is a great, great cause. And what drew me to this, you know, the Garden of Dreams Foundation, what drew me to this idea was that there are many parallels. You're trying to help young people no matter how you can. The J Fund Foundation, which was established in 1996, I had a player who lost his battle to leukemia when I was at Boston College. He was a young man by the name of Jay McGillis. And I knew that if I was ever given the opportunity to give back, it would be in the spirit of Jay McGillis, and we would do things to help families who have a child with leukemia or cancer. And we've done that now. This will be, thank you, but it's we will be, May 22nd and 23rd of this year will be our 21st Celebrity Golf Classic for the J Fund in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida. We just finished a wine tasting in Jacksonville where we had 950 people attend a wine tasting. And in October, as soon as the league schedule comes out, we will have our 12th Champions for Children gala here in New York City. And we are in the business of helping families who have a child with cancer. We do it all different kinds of ways. The ways in which it falls through the cracks: mortgages, groceries, electric bills, funeral expenses, you name it, we do it. And when we have a system by which families are recognized, and when they're recognized, the check is there.
One last thing. Good, that's great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
You said this when you were a kid. You played football. Did you come home one day moaning and groaning about something? Your father said, you know what? Don't play.
Yeah.
If
No,
you play. Tell that story. It's a
He
good
didn't
story.
say it that way, but I'm a sophomore in high school. And we're playing against a very, very good football team, and I'm playing fullback and safety or something like that. And I didn't think I played that poorly, but when I got home, I grabbed the front doorknob and I opened the door. My father looked at me, you know, blue-collar guy, a tough guy, 7 kids. I'm the oldest of 7. He took a look at me and he said, if that's as hard as you're going to play, do something else.
Wow.
That's a good message.
That was the message, and I took that to heart.
How many times have you said that to a player?
I've said that a few times, and I've told that story, and I've told it in a different way, too.
Are you going to be involved with the Giants this year at all? Or
I don't think so. I don't think so, no. Well,
because they made that idea of leaving the door open. I mean, is that something that's going to happen?
There's really not there's not been a lot of discussion about that, and I really don't see how, once the decision was made, you know.
Hard to go back, right?
Well, I mean, move on, I think is what I'm saying.
Do you think do you think, you almost got a crack with the Eagles, do you think that you still, I mean, we all know that, you know, they like the younger coaches, everything else. Do you think you could still coach again, another opportunity in the NFL?
Oh, I know I can coach. It's just if that opportunity is going to come. I know that part. And you know, we'll see where the energy level comes back up again. I was telling Mike this earlier. It's got to come back up, but it will.
Are we going to see you are you going to do TV this fall? I mean, are you one of those guys that are going to be doing TV this year?
I don't know. I'm going to talk and listen to a couple of things, and we'll see.
This guy might get your show on Sirius. I mean, they got a lot of channels over there. He could use a little help over there, as a matter of fact.
Hey, listen. You know why the chair's in between these two, don't you? Why I'm sitting between them.
You know,
as a matter of fact, my show's going to be opening up soon, as a matter of fact.
Somebody said that backstage. You never retire, Mike. You never
Don't retire. You expire when you retire.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Tom, it's great to see you again.
Chris.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Coughlin.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks,
Great job. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Have fun with this, guys. Have fun.
Now, earlier, we asked everybody on social media and everywhere to ask us some questions.
I don't have the questions. My bag is
I'm going to ask them to you.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we'll respond. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Here we go. Since we can't take them from the audience, they're from the audience, though. This one was from Greg LaChapelle via Twitter.
Okay. Well, you and I never did this in 1989, I'll tell you that.
Dear Dog. No, I'm listening. If you could manage or coach any team in any sport, which one would it be? Which sport and which team?
Wow. I would not coach in the NBA because you need great players. That's number one. I wouldn't coach in baseball because there's 162 games and there's guaranteed contracts. So you can't, if you play badly, they're not going to fire the player, they're going to fire you.
Are you going to the NHL?
No, I'm not going there. Me, hockey? What are you kidding? I would say the NFL. I think you have the most
I thought he would have
power.
said baseball for sure. You going to say NFL?
I think you have the most power. Because if they don't play well, there's not as much guaranteed contracts. You can maneuver a little bit. I would say the NFL. How about that? How about you?
I would say the NFL myself. I would absolutely say the NFL. I'm shocked, Dog, but I thought Dog would have said baseball.
Did
for
you really?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. This is from Tom Curry via Twitter. What team? If you could coach one NFL franchise, which one would you coach?
Green Bay. How would anybody not want to coach where Lombardi coached? How would anybody not want to coach where they live and dream Packer football on a day-in, day-out basis? You know, Mike, I think Green Bay's the best franchise right now. I really do.
Green Bay. You pick Green Bay.
I would, yeah.
I would pick the Detroit Lions. You know why? One, they never won a Super Bowl. I think it's time. And two, I get to play Dog twice a year.
Remember those spring games we used to have? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you won one.
I did. In Rutgers, we used to coach the spring game.
We played 16. You won one.
Yes. I wasn't 16. Go ahead.
All right, here we go.
Yes.
Tom via Twitter. In the years you were together, which New York sports moment was the biggest one the next day after it happened?
When the Yankees lost to the Red Sox in 2004. With the 3-0 lead. I tell you, I'll say one thing. Mike handled that so well when they had the 3-0 lead and they kind of and Red Sox won 4 straight because you had to take a lot of hits. The Red Sox fan at Yankee Stadium, that was one of the most exciting days in my career, watching Mike sweat the Bo Sox in 2004.
That was bad. I admit it. That was ugly. That was 8 innings of just absolute torment.
And they got blown out in the game.
8-0 in the second inning.
Yeah, against Javi. Who was pitching? It was Javier Vasquez.
Well, Kevin Brown, then Javi Vasquez.
Yeah, that was a rough one, indeed.
Johnny Damon hitting home runs.
And Ortiz hit that ball.
Pedro comes in. Remember that?
Yeah, he got that. He came in a year before.
That's a good one. But what do you think? What do you think was the one where we ran and said, "Boy, this at 1 o'clock is going to be off the charts"?
Wow.
You know what was a big one? You know what was a really big one? The day after they fired Buck Showalter.
Oh, that
Remember that?
was.
The next day,
When
and they
George-
hired Clueless Joe. Remember that? Whatever happened to that guy?
Yeah, Clueless. We killed.
Oh yeah, he only won about 42 World Series.
Boy,
after
we
that.
killed Torrey. Oh my gosh.
But that was a crazy
You
show.
had all the faxes go to Yankee
You were in Puerto
Stadium.
Rico playing craps.
I was playing in Puerto Rico. Mike had all the faxes going to George Steinbrenner's office when they fired Buck Showalter. You remember that?
I
That
do.
was funny. Okay.
All right. This is a Mongo Nation question. Okay. Hello, Mongo Nation, wherever you are. What about New York sports worries you right now?
The Knicks. No. What about New York sports worries me right now? I think the baseball's okay. I think the football is okay. I think the Giants will bounce back a little bit. I think the Jets, is Ryan Fitzpatrick in the building tonight? Sign the contract, Ryan, please.
Fitzpatrick's here, isn't he? You got a message for him?
I already said it. Sign the deal, please. We need you. But I guess if I had to worry about New York sports, I guess it would be the Knicks, who just can't. You follow it better than me. They can't get anything going.
I'll tell you this, if I threw 30 touchdown passes, I'd be expensive. I'll tell you that right now.
We have to erase the Buffalo film in week 17.
What about New York sports worries me?
Me? How did I get in that conversation?
What?
How did I get in that conversation?
Every day I'm worried you might come back. Oh, I have no worries right now. Some teams do, but I don't. I think everything's great. Here we go. If you could do an interview, now many times we said this. We always wanted to interview Joe DiMaggio.
Always.
We
Never
tried every way we could. We went to guys who were his friends.
Yeah.
We went to Hank down in Miami. We went to Ted Wood. Remember Ted Williams? We asked him to talk, intermediate for us.
Yeah.
I don't think Ted was serious, but
I remember that. Yes.
we never got to talk to Joe. So Aaron on Twitter wants to know, what would be your first question to Joe DiMaggio?
Wow.
All
No,
right,
Marilyn.
That would have been the second question.
First question to DiMaggio. Boy, that's a good, wow. What would be the first question to Joe D? I know what it is.
Where have you gone?
That's one. Joe, why didn't you get out of the way when Mickey was going after that fly ball?
yeah. You wonder why he never did an interview with us. We were going to ask him about why he crippled Mantle and what happened to Marilyn Monroe. Guy was smart not to do an interview with us, right?
That was game one of the 51 World Series when Mickey fell over the drain pipe. You remember that? With Joe D calling him off out in right field, right
Now,
center field.
Before we bring out our next guest,
yes,
you and I have a little thing we usually do. It's almost baseball season.
And why not?
It's almost opening day, which means over-unders.
Over-unders! Over-unders!
Now, how this works, here's the deal. 6 teams, 3 over, 3 under. We have all the numbers. Dog said beforehand we're playing for $10,000.
I did. That's right, honey, 10,000.
We're giving that to the charities, or are we keeping it?
No, you don't need my 10 grand. I need yours. You don't need mine.
You're doing just fine. We're going to give it to the charity. You have to give 10 to the charity I pick. I have to give 10 to the charity you pick.
That's a fair one, right? 10,000.
Now,
Put a little pressure on us.
The way this works is I'll flip the coin. You get the choice. You can either go first
or second and third. Okay, we have to give them the numbers with the teams, right?
Now,
let's see.
This is not the NFL, so this actually works.
Phil Luckett.
I mean, you think you can get some guys in the NFL? They have like $10 billion a year. They can't flip a coin.
Who was that? Cleat. That was in the Green Bay, Arizona.
Blakeman.
Yeah, the Cleat Bakeman.
Here we go. That's heads.
Yep.
That's tails.
You got it.
You call it, yeah.
All right. Tails.
It is heads.
Heads. Your choice.
Want to look?
Thank you, Mike. It is heads. It's heads. What do you want to do?
I will take second and third.
Okay, Mike will take second and third. I'll go first.
Not yet. Not yet. A little later.
Oh, later?
We have to give them the numbers first.
Oh, that's right.
That's
A
it.
little later.
Some of them might want to run to their establishment.
Not on my picks.
Go against yours.
Yeah. But that's over-unders. We'll play that a little later on.
So we will do that. Now we know that it's second and third, but we're going to bring in...
Let's go.
Someone else. But first, another videotape. Let's watch.
The 1996 New York Yankees were full of talent, but it was Joe Torre who led the charge. Torre was the 1971 National League MVP and a 9-time All-Star. He commanded the respect of his players and a team-first mentality, which ultimately became the centerpiece of the Yankees' dominance. Torre managed the Yankees for 12 years, but it was the title in 1996 which launched a dynasty. His Yankees made the postseason every year of his tenure, including winning 6 American League pennants and 4 World Series.
Folks, Hall of Famer Joe Torre today.
Hey, Mikey.
Hey, Joe, thanks for coming, buddy.
How are
Good
you?
to see you.
Nice seeing you. Dog, how are you? Thank you.
Joe, nice of you to come. Thank you for being part of our program.
Wow.
Not a bad deal. Imagine this. When was the last time you think 3 Italians were on the stage? They were bringing in a piano?
If you knew this many people were listening to you, you would have gotten nervous on you.
You know, they were listening to you. You were with us every week. And you were saying, I can't believe I have to do it again today. Oh, man.
Well, it's depending on what happened the night before.
Joe Torre, every Friday, what, from 96 to 2008, is that correct? Every Friday you came on with Mike and me for 12 years.
Yeah.
Every week.
2007, yeah. 2007.
So you were every Friday, and by the way, when you got the job, Mike was away, unlike my time, of course, with Buck Showalter, and you came in the studio for an hour because Mike and I both thought, why are they hiring Joe Torre to manage the New York Yankees?
And what does he do? Wins the World Series, then wins the World Series, then wins the World Series, then wins the World Series. And now, Joe, it's gotten a little lean around here since you left, if you noticed. You know that? They're hard to win now.
You know, fans, stop me and thank me for, all I've done here. I said, I had a pretty good player or two.
Yeah, you did, but you know what?
I had some special people.
But let's go back to 96 for a second, though. Yeah. 96, Yankees haven't won in a long time. They get to the playoffs in 95. You get them through what was a rocky September. Didn't play well in September. Mm-hmm. And you get in the playoffs. You get through, and now the World Series starts. And the first 2 games, you get absolutely bombed. I mean, embarrassed by the Braves. After the game, little conversation with George, right?
Actually,
a little upset George.
Actually, Mike, it was before
the game
2.
Okay.
And my whole life. I mean, my brother Frank played with the Milwaukee Braves when they played against the Yankees in the World Series in 57, 58. Little did I know at that time when I was sitting there in Yankee Stadium and County Stadium that the next time those 2 teams met in the World Series that I would be managing the Yankees. But we had beaten Baltimore, I think it was on a Sunday.
Right.
And we didn't play until the following Sunday. We got rained out Saturday, which was the first game of the World Series.
Right.
And during the week when we were working out, we'd work out a couple of days. I'd give the players a day. I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to have any simulated games because I was afraid somebody may get hurt. So it was, we were flat. We were really flat. So we lose game 1. Pettit starts, and he gets walloped, and Andrew Jones hits a couple of home runs, and we get killed. So George comes in my office before game 2. And let me tell you something. I'm relaxed because I got to the World Series. I mean,
It's taking you a long time.
Played 17 years, and managed 3 different teams, and got fired by all those teams. So here I am. I'm in the World Series. You don't even think of winning the World Series till you get there, because you just want to get there. So George comes in before game 2 after we get killed in the first game, and he says, this is a must game. Well, I wanted to say, no kidding, but we didn't know each other that well at that time. So I was loose, and I got a little goofy. And this is God's honest truth. I said to him, George, and I was serious about this part. I said, we may even lose tonight because Maddox is pitching. And I said, we're flat. We haven't played since last Sunday, and we're flat. I said, but don't worry. This is the made-up part. I mean, it really happened. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, we're going to Atlanta. It's my town. And I said, we'll win 3 games there, and then we'll come back and win it for you Saturday night. And I walked out of the office. Yeah, it was
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I thought the Braves were going to win that series because they had that great pitching. Another one I got wrong with the Yankees.
Listen, you haven't picked a New York team in 100 years, so we know that.
But I really thought that the Yankees, with that great Atlanta pitching, I thought that was the key to that first World Series. Your pitching with Cone in Game 3, Pettit against Smoltz, then, of course, Game 6, Key was good. Again, your pitching matched up pretty well with that Braves starting pitching.
Bullpen and bench. Your bullpen and your bench were unbelievable.
Yeah, my bullpen was terrific. They didn't get a whole lot of fanfare, but they did the job. Yeah. They did the job. But probably the most important decision that I made, knowing Atlanta, knowing it was the launching pad, you can hit balls out of that ballpark, that I called on David Cone, and I said, David, I want you to start Game 3. And the reason I did that was because he was the only starter I had that had pitched in that ballpark.
Really?
So, and to David's credit, ego aside, put it on the back burner, if that's what you want me to do. And I explained why I wanted him to do it, because he was the only one that had pitched in that ballpark, and he wasn't going to get overwhelmed by the fact that it was called the launching pad. And that one picture you had shown, where I was talking to David, David was so nice. He had sent me a copy of that just within the last couple of weeks. He says, I know this is special to you. I went out. That's when I went out to the mound. I said, you tell me the truth. Look me in the eye and tell me the truth. Are you okay? And he said yes, and I knew he was lying through his teeth. Because I don't think he ever pitched when he was 100% his whole career, other than early on. And he just willed himself to get people out. He's just terrific.
He had that no-hitter, too, in Oakland in that year, too.
That was the first game back after the aneurysm.
First game back, aneurysm. Yeah. How about 98? I know 98. You like 99 almost better, because 98, there was so much pressure on the Yankees. You had that great regular season, and it was almost a relief when you won a championship in 98, right?
Well, really, nobody's going to remember we won 114 games unless you do win the World Series. I mean, look what happened with Seattle in 01. They won 116 games, and we beat them in, I think it was 5 games.
Killed them.
But in 98, we had that really screwy, I think it was Game 2, where Knobloch, let the ball roll or whatever it was.
He didn't throw the ball to first base.
He didn't throw the ball to first base. Then we messed it up, so run scores, and I remember, we were all really bent out of shape after that game, and we were going to Cleveland, and I had said, guys, no workout, just no workout. Paul O'Neill's wife comes up and talks to me. Paul needs to work out. Paul needs to work out. I said, fine, whoever wants to work, we made it optional. Whoever wants to come and work out. Well, everybody showed up. And you know, it was a tight group. But one thing about, you know, the Yankee clubs that I had, they played well.
Under pressure.
Under pressure, and even when they were uptight, they didn't give anything away. And that was, it was a pretty cool group.
No question. And, you know, for you, I mean, you had a great baseball life. You were MVP. You were a many-time All-Star. You were a broadcaster. You were a manager. But when you came to New York, you became a rock star. I mean, you really did. You became I mean, right now, Joe Torre is the most respected guy in baseball. I mean, you have really, that's true, folks. Yeah, I mean, you have become, like, you know, as you've aged here, you've become this, you know, the grand man of baseball here. I mean, the Yankee thing really did kind of change your life.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, that made my whole professional life. I mean, I had a, you know, pretty good playing career, but the Yankees made my life. And the fact that, you know, it really struck home. We won the World Series in '96. And I remember they had asked, you know, come down and light the Christmas tree. And at that point, you know, walking through the crowd, I realized as big as New York City is, it was a small town, you know, for me. And it was amazing. It really, and continues to be amazing.
Forget this Yankee love. Let's talk Luis Gonzalez in 2001.
He's always the one. He's always the one.
No. My favorite is, I'm on vacation, and you...
No wonder there are people sitting between you two.
I'm on vacation, and Dog is talking to Joe the day Joe named 11 Yankees to the All-Star team. And Dog is like he's banging off the walls because you named the whole Yankee team to the All-Star game. Who cares if they're the best players? Doesn't matter. How can they all be on the All-Star team?
Remember that show
I did, and I said to you, I said, I always felt that my guys stood up to the other guys I could have taken. If the other players were better, I would have taken the other players. I'm a little biased, obviously.
There's Dog
my
worried
players
about
were pretty darn good.
I think it was Torrey Hunter. I was upset that Torrey Hunter didn't make the team. How about that ninth? I mean, does that, it had won so many. You won the 4 in the 5 years. That ninth inning with Mariano in Arizona. Mike was in the ballpark that day.
The worst. Because the 8th inning was so dominant, Joe. He went through the 8th inning, striking out the side, and gave a little single, but struck out 3, 4, and 6. And he was overpowering in the 8th inning.
And Soriano really saved my bacon.
Oh, hit a great home run.
Well,
amazing home run.
I'm there. I'm on the fence with Zimmer. And Zim says, who are you going to bring in?
Hey, Zim was great, though, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He was there for all of them, folks.
He was.
And I said, Mendoza. He says, Mendoza, what about Mo? I said, well, I need, you know, we get a lead. I need him to shut it down. He says, you got to bring in Mo. I said, the only time I'll bring in Mo, I said, if he hits and all of a sudden he hits a home run.
Off his shoe tops.
Yeah.
Schilling.
He hits it off Schilling, left center field.
Yeah, bomb.
And in looking back on it, Zim was 100% right, because, you know, if you wind up losing the game and Mariano never gets in the game, then you never forgive yourself. So I never had a chance to screw that one up.
You know, it's funny, Mike. We almost took Joe's great runs. Well, you and I didn't, but fans took the Yankees' great runs forever.
We all did. He made it. The Yankees made it look so easy during that time. They won 14 World Series games in a row. We're all spoiled. I mean, we all thought it was going to be like that every year. We found out it's not.
Well, my wife's one of 16 children. Okay.
Wow.
And you know, they were Cincinnati Reds fans and just very loyal. Well, they were loyal to me, there's no question. It got to the point, after winning a few World Series, you know, you'd take the orders, my wife would take the orders for tickets, you know, and then all of a sudden I'd have a brother-in-law or two say, we'll wait for the World Series. You know, like, oh, really? You know, is that right?
Yeah, first 2 series are easy.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know.
But it had to bother you a little bit. You know, you always made the playoffs, even though you didn't win a World Series after the 2000. You always got in. You lost. You know, had that terrible bug thing with the Indians. You got burnt, and you always think that's when your big regret, not stopping that game with Jabba Chamberlain, right?
Right. Yeah.
The midges.
I just felt and meanwhile, Gene Monahan was out there, you know, putting that bug spray on it, and it was Chateaubriand for those bugs, man. But you know, he looked at me, he says, I can't see. I could read his lips, you know, Jabba. And I was just, that's the one second guess that was, you know, just not taking the players off the field at that point until that stuff cleared up.
What was your favorite Yankee team? Which is the one that's closest to your heart?
Well, 96.
96?
96. I mean, we fall, you know, down 2 games to the world champs and biting and scratching. And as you mentioned, we first half of the season, we didn't get like Cecil Fielder or Strawberry till about halfway through. And we were finding ways to win, and everybody was contributing, whether it be a pinch runner, Girardi safety squeezes, just a lot of stuff that, we worked really well. And then our bullpen, you guys picked each other up, and Mariano, he gave us a pretty good taste of a setup man, didn't he?
He did.
It's unbelievable.
Well, we got the season starting Sunday. You're now in charge of all the on-field operations. Let's ask you 2 quickies. One, the slide rule. We know what the Utley thing with Tejada. And the pacing, the quickening of the game.
We're going to be hitting off a tee soon in baseball, you know that? I mean, Joe, what are we doing here? Buster Posey gets hurt. We changed the rules at home plate. We got a guy knocked out at second base. Now we changed the rules at second base. What's next?
Well, let me. These guys.
Soon they'll pitch underhand.
These guys have been listening to all the politics going on.
Yeah, well, nothing's that rough.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing's that rough.
Well, the Buster Posey thing, I talked to Bochy several times. I didn't think there was anything we can do, being a former catcher myself. And then you get letters from parents of minor league players who get carried off the field. And then Mike Matheny tells you how he can't account for 18 months of his life.
Because of the concussions.
Well, you were
got to try to do
Did
something.
you ever get knocked out at home plate?
Yeah.
You did?
I did. Oh, yeah, many times.
Oh, a couple times, huh?
Yeah, many times. And, I mean, that was your job, but it's, you bowl people over.
So you like the rule?
The one thing about it, we want to keep the players on the field.
But all right, didn't you create more problems
I didn't mind the collision part,
right?
Okay? And I didn't mind the collision part. It's only when home plate was over here, and then you go over here to get the catcher. That's the thing that bothered me. So you're not even interested in scoring. You're just interested in
knocking out the catcher.
Knocking him out so he can't catch the ball.
But now you've taken the neighborhood play out of the game. I mean,
which I'm happy about, because that was tough. Umpires had to decide, and it wasn't reviewable, so we had a lot of kickback on that.
So now but these guys have spent a lot of years where they haven't gone near second base. They're all going to have to touch the bag now.
No, they're going to have to slide in the vicinity of the bag.
No, I'm talking about the fielders are going to have to touch the bag.
They're going to have to touch the bag. Well, the one thing I
some guys didn't touch a bag in 20 years.
Wait a minute, I just had a meeting with Terry Collins. Remember when he talked about Murphy not touching second base?
Right.
He was so good at being able to cheat over there. We looked at every one of those videos. He touched the base every single time.
Did he really? Wow.
Every single time. But he was so good at, just staying on just long enough. I mean, it's a way. The infielder's job is to try to avoid the runner, okay? Now, if the runner's sliding in the vicinity of the bag, at least he knows where he has to go after he touches the bag. So it's one of those things.
How was the Cuba experience?
Cuba was great. It was...
Now, that's a good one. A lot of people think that baseball shouldn't be involved in that.
But the only... first of all, I'm not a politician, and I know there are a lot of things that have to get cleared up before baseball, we can get on that relationship. But it's like a religion there. Right. Baseball is like a religion. These young kids who play the game, you can't, you can't boo the kids who love to play baseball. And that's what our trip was about, was baseball. It wasn't about anything else. We weren't there to solve any problems that was really out of our jurisdiction. It was just baseball. It's going to be a while, my estimation, it'll be a while before, you know, that we have a free, you know, relationship with them. But, you know, the baseball part was great. The passion for the game was unbelievable. And it was a successful trip. I know Derek came with us, and Derek, you know, really enjoyed it. He really enjoyed it.
Do you miss management?
I really don't miss it. You know, if I could go from my house right to the dugout and then back home, it would be easy.
Do you miss hearing George in your ear?
You know,
George, you still hear him?
I still, yeah. It doesn't go away. No, but George, you know, in all fairness, I think...
We miss George.
I think I got George.
I miss George.
I think I got George on the back nine.
I'd do anything for a missive one of these days.
Remember those great missives? We used to get the pout music on, and Mike would read the miss.
I wish he'd send one. I wish he'd send one.
And you know, that's what you were so good at. You
did a good job of controlling that.
Deflecting, Mike.
Yeah,
Joe deflected George.
Well, you changed the whole way. You know, it was 22 managers in 10 years, and then you for 20 years. So, you know, he didn't change managers anymore. So that's basically it.
You know, I thought when I got there, I felt that my job was, first off, you're not going to, you know, insulate the players from George, because he owns the team. He has every right to be wherever he wants and say whatever he wants. But I just felt that the players needed to know that I made the baseball decisions. And again, not that George, you know, didn't make suggestions or want to tell you what he'd like to see happen, but the fact of the matter is he never really gave me pushback on what I wound up doing, really.
Never told you who to play or anything along those lines.
Yeah, I said he made suggestions, but that was about it.
All right, you got 5 days to go for opening day.
Mm-hmm.
We got 6 teams in the National League who are probably pretty shaky, 1 team in the American League, but I think baseball overall right now is pretty healthy, correct?
Well, I mean, the World Series last year with the Mets in Kansas City, I mean, it's a great commentary for you know, coming up through the farm system. And, you know, the commissioner, whether it's Bud Selig or now Rob Manfred, you know, you want competition on the field. You want each club to have a chance to win. As you say, there are probably a handful of clubs that are going to struggle, you know, in a rebuilding stage at this point in time. But what Pittsburgh has done over the last few years, that's where I'll be for opening day on Sunday afternoon.
Cardinals.
And then I'm going to do both New York teams for opening day. So I'm looking forward to it.
The great Joe Torre.
Joe Torre, everybody. Thank you, Joe, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
More spirit.
Right?
More spirit.
Yes. Thanks, Joe. Joe Torre, everybody. Now.
What's next?
What's next? Before we show the folks a little video about the Garden of Dreams, which you will in a couple of minutes, we promised over and unders. Here we go.
The over-unders in baseball.
Here we go. Get your sheet right here.
My sheet? I got a sheet. I go first, right?
You go first.
Okay. My over-unders in baseball.
Are you prepared? Have you mapped this out?
Oh, I'm prepared.
You're prepared?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready to go.
You have first, I have second and third.
All right.
3 overs, 3 unders.
Now, what is the bet?
10,000.
Okay.
Small bills.
And we have to do the 3 overs and the 3 unders, correct? You can't do 4 overs. You got to do 3 overs. No, 3 and 3.
3 and 3.
Okay. Who's going to write this down?
I got it. Let's go.
I cannot believe that the Texas Rangers are 82.5. Texas has good pitching. Darvish will come back. They have good hitting. They obviously have they got Desmond to play left field. They should have beaten Toronto last year in the postseason. They got a lot of young players. The manager's pretty good. Done a nice job at Jeff Bannister. Mike, I think that's a layup. I cannot believe a team that won 90 games last year should have beaten Toronto, and they got them at 82.5 with Cole Hamels for the whole year. That, to me, is a complete layup.
You got Texas over
82.5.
Texas over 82.5.
That's my first.
I get 2.
You get 2.
Mets over 89.5.
Whoa!
A stone lock, folks. That is a joke, 89.5.
Yeah, that is a little low. Why are they so low? I don't understand. Why are the Mets 89.5?
That is a joke, 89.5. That's right.
Why.
I mean, you know how many Met? First of all, we have Mrs. Met in the audience. We have Mr. Met. Where's Usler?
Bobby Usler in the house today. He said something.
Where is he? There he is.
Bob Yosler.
There's it. Hey. And if we got to mention Yusler, we got to mention Minko. Where's Minko?
Johnny Minko.
Where's Minko?
There he is.
Bob waited a long time to hear Mets over.
He sure did. No Met. There's no Met, Mr. Met, by the side of the road on the Merritt Parkway.
Mets over, and Oakland A's, who are awful, under 76.5.
All right, so Mike likes the Mets and Oakland.
You're up.
This is an easy one. They stink.
Who's that?
The Milwaukee Brewers. Oh, my God. And you know, what are they, 70, Mike?
Milwaukee is 70.
They're going to trade the catcher. Luke Roy is going to get traded. So he's probably going to go. They have no pitching. They're revamping the whole team. I don't like their everyday lineup. They traded one of their outfielders. They have to be in a division with the Cubs, Pirates, and Cardinals to play them 56 times. I can't stand Milwaukee. Under Milwaukee at 70 is game number 2.
So the Brewer, you have Texas over and Milwaukee under.
And I will play these with the real guys.
You will.
Who are they, Mike?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I think, you know, their kids are going to a good college. Arizona over 82.
I was going to take them. You like it? Well, give me a reason. Go ahead.
Greinke.
That's a good reason.
Go ahead.
You don't think you were going to get me here for 3 hours and not talk about the San Francisco Giants? Why boo Samardzija, Cueto, Bumgarner, who, by the way, tell me how good Bumgarner is.
Did I say this is an under or an over?
Not an under. 88.5, northbound, SF in the NL West.
All right, that was a hard one to fathom. Yep. Pittsburgh over 86.5.
Pittsburgh. Now, you know, a lot of people don't like them in that tough division.
I like
Why?
the young kids. They still have a great nucleus. They've been averaging 95 wins, and they won 97 last year. It's 86.5. Pittsburgh over.
Fair.
So that's it. Wait, I got that's my 3 overs
more.
already. I got 2 more unders I have to do. Go ahead.
You got one more. I have to come up with 2 unders and an over.
Go ahead.
All right, 2 unders and an over. I will go, I'm down on him because of this Adam LaRoche thing. The idea that Adam LaRoche has to have that kid in that ballpark, 162 games. Mike, first off, Timmy, Colin, and Patrick Russo don't want to be with the old man 162 games a year.
162?
I love that Harrison and Jack. They don't want to be with you either, big guy, I guarantee you. I will take, because I'm going to be anti-White Sox, I couldn't believe they made such a big, they got it as the kid's jersey. Oh, come on, and Adam LaRoche did nothing last year. So I'm anti.
Well, that's why the kid's not there. He hit 205.
Yeah, but 12 homers.
Hit 300, they'd put the kid in the dugout.
Yeah, exactly right.
They give him a day.
They give him a day. The White Sox under 81 is my second under pick. Go ahead.
So that is the Adam LaRoche pick.
That's an Adam LaRoche pick, yeah. Do you agree with me on that, by the way?
About LaRoche, yes. About the White Sox, I don't know.
But LaRoche, how did they let this happen?
I don't know. I didn't even know this was going on for 4 years. Did you know he ever been in the dugout?
No.
Maybe he was the problem in Washington.
I guess he did it.
I mean, he hammered the Mets every time he played them, that's for sure.
But last year he did. And then he takes up his bats and balls and he goes home because they can't work out a deal.
You know, Terry Collins, I like him, but how many times did he pitch to Adam LaRoche?
A lot. Good point. All right, that's my second under. Go ahead, you're next.
All right, I need 2 unders. And let's see. I'm not taking the Yankees under.
I will.
I'm not taking them over. I don't have any overs left. That's my good. What, are you going to take the Yankees over?
You don't know what I'm going to do, Mike.
You won't take the Yankees over. I'm going to take the Dodgers under 90.
You think they're pitching?
That's the anti-Mattingly pick.
Yeah, that's a fair point. All right, Dodgers over. That's
No,
my,
Dodgers under.
90.
Under 90.
Gotcha. Folks, how is Kansas City only at 84 wins? I mean...
They've been to the World Series twice in a row.
And they got everybody back.
Take them as an over.
The over.
Take them as an over. They saw you coming on that one. Take them as an over.
Oh, I am, Mike. 84.
They want you to take them as an over.
I love the Royals. Hosmer, Moustakas, Alex Gordon.
You're taking the Royals over.
Over. Kansas City.
Over 84.
84. It's a layup.
All right, I need a third under. Boston. No, I think they're gonna be pretty good. I'm gonna take. All right, what the heck? Red Sox under 87.5. That's called working the crowd. That's what that's called.
I love you, Mike. I love you, baby. I love you. Say something funny after all these years. Folks.
Give me one more, would you please? We can bring Messier out here.
You know who's going to be lousy this year? The Yankees!
Oh. Dog picked the Yankees under 64.
64? What's it, 84.5?
No, but you think it's going to be like...
Not that bad.
All right, put it at 74.
No. I got to win. It's $10,000 on the line here.
79.
I don't have that kind of money like you do.
79.
No. Yankees at 80. You're not going to play hardball with me. What are you talking about? Yankees under 84.5 is my last pick. We enjoy that how many times do we do that over the years in all the sports? Oh, boy.
So there you go, $10,000 to the favorite charity. You want to just leave the check now or what?
No, it will bounce.
It won't bounce.
I'm renovating my house. I am broke.
You're renovating.
You're doing the work, honey? Yes,
You're renovating your house?
Yes, I am.
You're doing the work yourself?
No, I'm not doing any work myself. My gosh. Okay.
That would be as bad as if I was doing it. All right. Back to the videotape we go. Let's watch.
When Mark Messier became a New York Ranger in 1991, he brought the glory of 5 Stanley Cup championships with him. He had an immediate impact after being named captain, helping to lead the Rangers to the league's top record in the 91-92 season. His first year may have been celebrated, but 2 years later, he became a New York City icon. The Rangers would make it to the Stanley Cup Finals behind Messier's stunning hat trick in Game 6 versus New Jersey. And in Game 7 against Vancouver, it was Messier who scored the game winner, giving his team its first cup in 54 years.
The one and only Mark Messier!
Good to see you, Mark.
Mark, good to see you, pal. They haven't won since you left. How about that?
Before we get started,
yes.
Before we get started here tonight, we got a very special surprise for you guys.
What's that?
A special surprise?
Very special surprise for you guys, and I got 2 great champions here to help me celebrate.
What's that?
2 great champions from the Rangers, Adam Graves, and from the New York Knicks, John Starks.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good to see you, pal. Hello, John.
Thank you.
Good to see you, pal. Okay.
Come on up, guys.
Come on, guys. Well, we'll stand. We'll stand.
Yeah, please,
yes.
Please, give us that honor. We are... Thank you. These 2 guys. We are proud to be here tonight on behalf not only the Rangers, the Knicks, but also the Garden of Dreams Foundation. Adam and I are privileged to serve on the board, on the foundations, serve as board members on the foundation. Which since 2006 has brightened hundreds of thousands of children's lives. The foundation work could not be possible if it wasn't for the many people who give their time, talent for this amazing charity.
Thank you. Each year, the foundation gives a hero award to a person that goes above and beyond in their commitment to the Garden of Dreams. A person who represents the spirit and the commitment of the foundation. And with great pride, we would like to present the Hero Award, the Garden of Dreams Hero Award, to both Chris and Mike.
Well, thank you.
As co-honorees.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Pretty impressive. Adam, thank you very much. How are you, pal? Okay?
Very good, thank you. We all know that the effort that you put in here, and because of that great effort, over $1 million has been raised. And I know that there are so many kids, on behalf of the Garden of Dreams, there's thousands of kids that are going to benefit from those great efforts, and I know that they're all going to be smiling because of you guys and everyone here tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Adam, thank you, pal. John, always a pleasure. Thanks, buddy. Good to see you.
Johnny, thank you. Thank you. Adam, thanks very much. Thank you. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, ladies, very much. That's very nice. And thank you to the charity.
Thank you, Mark, for setting up.
The people at the Garden and here at Radio City did all the work. We did very little, so really it's for you fans. We'll give you all a little piece because you're the ones who made the night. So thank you very much. And especially from those guys and Adam Graves, because I have some family members here who are big Adam Graves fans, and I told them, there's probably no one who does more charity work anywhere than Adam Graves. I mean, the guy's unbelievable. I mean, so getting it from him is a very distinct honor because I know he does more charity work than probably any 10 people combined. So thank you. And, you know, Mark, it's amazing. No matter how the years go by, first of all, you don't get older looking, which is just ridiculous. I mean,
I'm older.
Yeah. Secondly, it's like magical because of what the gift you brought to this town, that no matter where you go, the reaction is the same. It doesn't matter what year it is, how many years it is. These fans never forget. They really don't. You know that? I mean, they will love you forever for what you brought here with that championship.
It is actually amazing. I just took the train here from Greenwich again today, jumped on the subway at 125th Street and took the 4 train and the 6 train down here, and it's amazing, even to today, the fans on the train there saying thank you there. It never gets old, and it was a special moment for all of us.
What propelled you, after the Devils won Game 5 in '94, the Rangers had that long dry spell, they had a disappointing series to Pittsburgh that one year, the year before. What propelled Mark Messier to say, I guarantee we're going to win Game 6 and win this series?
And then back it up.
With the hat trick, straight up.
Complete insanity. I don't know. I think, and I've said it before, and probably most people here have heard me say it before, is that as a captain, you're always trying to monitor the team's psyche. You're always trying to monitor the team's confidence. You're always trying to figure out what we need to do differently. And it was one of those times where we weren't necessarily playing that poorly, but the Devils were playing incredible. And we had to find a way to play better. We had to find a way to instill the confidence that we had showed all year. And I felt that by making a stand and drawing a line in the sands and telling the players that, you know, I really believed we could win, because I did believe we could win. We had proven it all year that we could beat the Devils. We had done it 6 times in the regular season. And we found ourselves in a tough spot, which you normally do in a Stanley Cup run. And I just felt there that, as a captain, if they felt that I really believed in my heart that we could do it, it would give us that extra little bit of confidence to go out there and try to win that series.
You know, you had won so much before you got here, but that whole series, the 2 series, because you come back and you play as gut-wrenching a Game 7. I've said this many times. That Game 7, that Devil game, in the Garden was one of the most intense sporting events I've ever been at in any sport. That game, it was unbelievable, the intensity in that game.
Well, the whole series might have been one of the best series I've ever played in.
Remember how intense that Game 7 was? I mean,
Devils
it was
were a great
unbelievable.
team. They were a great team, and the intensity, not only in all 7 games, but the intensity and the rivalry that accompanied it was incredible. And it brought out the best of both teams. I mean, the hockey was incredible, and you know, we found a way to do it, but it was a struggle.
And then you have Game 5, and remember, Dog and I were in the Garden, and they were boarding up the city because you know they're going to celebrate, and it's Game 5 and you lose Game 5. You have to go all the way back to Vancouver, and Dog and I went to Vancouver, and Vancouver that night. I don't know, people won't realize this. Dog and I ran out because we were going to Houston for the Knicks. Vancouver tore the town apart that night when they won Game 6.
They thought they won the cup.
They were like
in Game 6.
They were turning cars over. It was like a crazy scene. After that Game 6, you had to come back and play Game 7. What an intense series that turned out to be.
It was, and you know, we lost the first game, and we outshot them, I think, 45-15, and ended up losing that game. We came back the next 3 and won fairly handedly. Came home, and of course everybody had their ticket parade.
Oh yeah, it was a celebration.
And for a lot of our players in the team, it was.
Never celebrate safely.
I remember that. Yes, they gave up a ton of goals, like 9 goals that night. Wasn't it a lot of goals?
Well, there was, and then you know you just get caught up into the whole energy of it, and to forget about the first things first. We got to play the game. We got to win the game. I'll tell you what, it was a long night.
And then Game 6 was a tough game too. They jumped all over you in Game 6.
They took it to us very. It was a long trip to going back to Vancouver when we had heart set on that we could win Game 5.
Well, tell them too about the extra day off. That helped for Game 7. You had the extra day off. You got them organized and said we got an extra day off. It helped you.
Well, I don't know if I got them organized. I think we all got ourselves organized. But what we're able to do, that extra day off, to your point there, I think really did kind of give us a chance to reset ourselves there, have a great practice the day before the final game, and we had talked about maybe doing something different and not staying in the city, and we talked with Mike and the leadership group, and we decided, let's just go home and let's enjoy the experience there. Let's do what we've done all year. It's worked for us. Why change now? So we went back and had our great practice out at Rye, and everybody slept in their own beds. We came back and reset ourselves, and of course, the rest is history in Game 7.
Well, you won so many cups. You also won one without Gretzky, which people don't realize that in Edmonton. You know, when Wayne left to L.A., Mark still won a cup. But there is, and that Edmonton team's an historic team. You know, it's one of the great teams in the history of the sport. But there is still something about winning a Stanley Cup in New York City. It's a good hockey town. And not having one in 50 years.
You know, the Namath guarantee, the Messier guarantee, every other time somebody guarantees something, they lose. I mean, so those two stand out because they're the ones that won.
Look, I was I grew up a hockey player. My father played hockey. I understood the history of the game, the original 6. I grew up playing road hockey, emulating Bobby Orr and all the great icons of the 60s and 70s. And so when
that was your idol, Bobby Orr?
I love Bobby Orr.
Wow.
I love Guy Lafleur. But I just loved the whole idea when the things changed in Edmonton, and I'd spent 12 years there, and it was time to move on, not only from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint. I couldn't think of a better place to go than to New York City and to try to capture a championship. Because of the history here, because of the city, because of all it had to offer, I said, if there's one challenge that I want to do, is I want to go to New York City. I want to live in the city. I want to experience it. And I want to try to help win a championship here in New York City, and we're able to do that.
And not only that, when he takes the cup from Bettman that night at the Garden, the joy, I mean, the joy that was in your face, that, you know, a lot of guys, they take I know Ray Bork was all excited, but the joy that you had is, I don't remember that joy that you had in Edmonton when you won the cup like you did that night with the Rangers.
Well, it was an incredible experience, but I can tell you the first cup and look at every cup is special. There's no question. It's so hard to win the Stanley Cup because of what you have to go through. You know, we had a dream of winning a Stanley Cup as young boys. Next thing we know, I'm from Edmonton. We have an expansion team come to Edmonton, and I'm playing on an expansion team in the NHL, which was a dream come true, not only for the players, but for the people that have been there, my aunts and uncles. And so next thing you know, 5 years later, we're playing for the Stanley Cup. And here I am, born and raised in Edmonton, winning a Stanley Cup. It was the most magical thing you could ever experience. And then, you know, you were able to do it 4 more times for 5 cups. But then to come here and experience it, and the generations of fans that have never seen a Stanley Cup on home ice or even one, how can you top
wow.
that? I mean,
so the first one and the Ranger one mean the most to you.
But everything in between there, because everyone had their own stories. I mean, because in the end, it's all about the people and the motivation and understanding of why people are even playing the game and what motivates them to win and to sacrifice themselves and put the work in that's required to become a champion. I mean, those are the interpersonal stories are in the end what drive teams.
You know, you are recognized as one of the great leaders of team sports. There aren't a lot of guys who are in that category you are. What is it, or what was it, that you saw as your role and what you brought to the team? Can you explain what it is you tried to bring to a team?
Very, very simply, through the years, I was asked a question if I was I mean, a lot of seminars, but I think what inclusion, if I had to pick one word, someone asked me a long time ago if I felt I was an independent or a dependent leader, and my quick answer was, I'm an independent leader. If something has to be done, I'm going to get out there and do it. But after more reflection, I realized that I am a dependent leader. I'm only going to be as good as the people around me and how much they feel important, what their roles are, and they feel important to the team's success. And so I just spent my lifetime of being a captain and leading teams, trying to make everybody the best they could be, because in the end, that's the only way.
What did you try to do as captain? I mean, what was an objective of yours? Did you try to get everybody involved in a certain way? Were you very vocal? Were you? What was it? What was your secret?
I think the inclusion, but everybody's obviously when you have 20 people on a team, everybody has a different role. And no matter how big or small that role is, it's just as significant to the role that the top players are playing. And if the players feel that, and they feel valued, and they feel that without their best contributions, whether it's 2 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, we can't win without that. I think that's when people really kind of buy into what we're doing there. And you just spend time getting to know their teammates on more than just a professional level.
Did every coach embrace it, or was some threatened by it? Did you have coaches who were threatened by your ability to be a leader with the players, or did every coach you have embrace it?
Look at it. No, I don't think. No, I don't. I never really felt that coach didn't.
Because you had a special thing. I mean, you were held on a special level as a leader with these teams.
Well, I think that there's nothing more important than the coach-leader relationship. I mean, to me, that is the critical component of any team success. That the team coach is a real leader of the team. The team's leader is a captain, and how those two people interact and how they decide to do things and treat each other will be a reflection all the way down throughout the team there. And I had great coaches that I learned a lot from and understood that. And the great coaches give the power to the players and are not afraid to do that.
And how many new Rangers, Mike, used to come on our radio show and say, you know what? I walked into my locker room or the clubhouse for the first time, and there was a new suit there.
New suit of clothes.
Or there was
the rookies, right?
The rookies, or the gift certificate for the new. Ray Ferraro used to tell us that all the time.
Now,
you were so good at making sure they were part of the team.
Were you going down to a discount store, or were you buying them really nice suits?
Custom made.
Oh, custom
made all the way. Custom made.
Have you found that thing since your retirement to ignite that emotion that you had as a player or as a long? Have you found that, a lot of athletes, after you play for such a long time, you look for that thing, that passion, that courage as a player? Have you found that?
Well, I don't think you ever try to replicate it, because there's nothing that can do that, but you look for different meanings in your life as you go forward. When I first came to New York there, when I first did my first interview, I said, geez, I hope my second career is just as successful as my first half of my career. And now I'm sitting here 25 years later, or 10 years later from retirement, and got an opportunity up in Kingsbridge to build these rinks that's going to change and alter the course of sports here in the city, that's going to impact thousands of kids' lives that have never had the opportunity. And so you just, as your life goes on, you figure out that, I would have never dreamt that I'd be sitting here today with ability to do such impactful work to help kids by building this arena and a stadium, I should say. So you just never know. You just got to take advantage of what's in front of you. But it's going to be an incredible asset to the city and to its children.
One of the great all-time Rangers, Mike.
First of all, thank you for having the guys bring this out for us. And thanks for being a part of the program tonight.
Great to see
Mark
you guys.
Messier, folks.
Everybody.
Mark, thanks, pal.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Good job, guys.
Mark.
Thank you. Thank
Now,
you.
if you're watching the show, if you are tonight on MSG or listening on the Fan or Sirius, and obviously even here in the building, fans can text the word reunion to 72727 to make a tax-deductible donation to the Garden of Dreams. The foundation works with 25 partner organizations throughout the area, including hospitals, wish organizations, community-based organizations, to reach children who are facing challenges such as homelessness, poverty, illness, and foster care. All the net proceeds from tonight's event will go to the Garden of Dreams Foundation that MSG does such a great job with. And since it began in 2006, the Garden of Dreams has brightened the lives of more than 275,000 children and their families in every way possible, from building schools to taking sick kids to special trips to all the different things that you can imagine. As a matter of fact, let's look and take an inside look at the Garden of Dreams.
The Garden of Dreams Foundation is amazing. They've given me so many opportunities. It's been a greatly positive impact in my life.
Matthew's dream came true in November of 2007, and the Garden of Dreams has been with us every step of the way since. It's been everything to Matthew. It changed Matthew's life.
Established in 2006, the Garden of Dreams Foundation is a nonprofit charity that has brightened the lives of more than 275,000 children and families, bringing joy and happiness to kids facing obstacles, including illness, homelessness, poverty, and foster care.
Garden of Dreams tries to help disabled children and tries to implement as much normalcy in their life as they can and let them know you can just be a kid. You don't have to worry about your disability.
Working closely with the Madison Square Garden Company and MSG Networks, Garden of Dreams harnesses the magic and power of these two world-class companies, which include the Knicks, Rangers, Liberty, and Rockettes, along with 2 award-winning television networks, to develop strong, long-term relationships that truly change children's lives.
I just like to see people happy, especially kids, because I know if I make a kid smile and a kid happy, then that makes the household happy.
Garden of Dreams works with 25 organizations in the tri-state area, including hospitals, wish organizations, and community-based organizations, conducting more than 500 events a year. That includes the annual Garden of Dreams Prom, where children attend a magical night at Madison Square Garden, and the annual talent show, which features more than 100 children performing on the great stage at Radio City Music Hall before an audience of more than 3,500.
Tonight I'm going to be performing at Radio City Music Hall. That's crazy.
It's a great thing where young kids who come from varied backgrounds, either poverty or they're facing obstacles in life, they get up on stage at Radio City and they perform. There's your little boy. His name is Matthew, suffers from blindness.
My name is Matthew Walling. I am 9 years old. I live in White Plains, New York with my mom and dad.
For a boy who has been through so much in such a short time of his life, life-threatening conditions, he lives every minute of his life to the fullest.
What makes me different from other kids is I can only see out of one eye. I need papers blown up bigger. Melt in your mouth. Delicious.
Matthew was diagnosed with a condition called osteopetrosis.
The bones in his skull were growing and growing and growing. They were squeezing the optic nerve. When we were in the hospital, it was dreary. The only brightness to our day was music.
My music hero is Ziggy Marley. I got to see him in person, and at the end of each concert, I saw him on his tour bus. Nobody else gets to do that. The thing I like about music is you can freak out and stuff.
Even though he is vision impaired, he sees past that. Literally, he sees past it with his music.
Matthew sees the sunshine, and and he sees the stars, and that's what Matthew is. Matthew is sunshine to me.
The Garden of Dreams Giving Program provides vital resources to help its partner organizations meet critical needs, including financial assistance for tangible community projects, as well as support of college scholarships.
Scholarships provided by the Garden of Dreams Foundation are a game changer for people who live in the Bronx where we work. It means the world.
The foundation serves its partners by refurbishing pediatric areas at hospitals, activity rooms at community facilities, and foster care visiting areas at family centers, and by rejuvenating neighborhood playgrounds and basketball courts, with plans for many more vital civic enhancements in the years to come.
Kids and families are coming in, often very stressed. The colors are bright. It's amazing to see the kids' reactions. It just changes the whole environment.
Garden of Dreams is extremely proud of the impact it has had on the lives of extraordinary children over the past 10 years.
I'm proud to be part of that foundation, to reach so many kids every year.
We're confident that with the tireless commitment of the Madison Square Garden Company and MSG Networks, as well as the generous involvement of supporters from across our area, Garden of Dreams will have an even greater impact in the future.
I want to give a shout out to Garden of Dreams. Thank you for this opportunity. Love you guys.
To support the Garden of Dreams Foundation, please text REUNION to 72727.
And please text, important.
And that you can do all night. Reunion to 72727 to make a donation. Still to come, Bobby Valentine, Jeff Van Gundy are both still to come. We have a lot more to do. I have 4 more questions. You ready?
Yes, you got the 4 questions.
You know, one thing I was thinking. We started a long time ago. You know what's the best thing we did? We have 7 kids in the audience here.
Oh,
you know that between us? 7 kids getting now mine are just now old enough to actually watch Mike and the Mad Dog. Jack, Emily Harrison, sitting with my lovely wife Ro there. Hi, Em, Jack, yeah. And you have now Timmy is like 6'2" now. He's big. He's a basketball star. And
little
the Russo kid's right over here. I mean, how good is that? I mean, that's the best thing we did. 7 kids.
And you had such a bond because he was the first one.
With Timmy, because he's the one we remember. He knew the show because you know the dogs are a little older, but it's amazing. I mean, 7 kids. That's not bad.
And he was the first one, so you had a good bond with Timmy.
Timmy was great. He used to go to the games with us.
All the time.
Absolutely. But that's pretty good. So, you know, they get to sit here tonight and watch this, which is
great.
You
remember that time I brought Timmy in with the Yes Network and I had him do all the voices?
Absolutely.
And we got a big kick out of
Absolutely.
that? Anyway, go ahead.
That's it. And you know what? I still hear Tony once in a while. You know that? I still hear, you know that?
I'm glad you bring him up.
How good was Tony on the show? I mean, Tony was great on the show.
Tony?
Jetta.
Tony Russo was so upset when 2008 occurred and we were no longer. He called up all upset.
Absolutely.
And you handled that so well.
He was good, though.
On that day. Because he loved, with the Yankee bond, he loved working with you with that Yankee bond.
Oh, he was great. He loved the Yankees. That was his thing.
Think about this for a minute. 4 months before he dies, didn't even know he was sick. He's in New Canaan, Connecticut. We go out to dinner. It was the year that it was the month that Jackie Robinson's movie came out, which is a good movie.
Right.
Jackie Robinson, just 42, is a good movie. So, Tony, we're at the dinner, and Tony says, you know, I saw Jackie Robinson there. So I said, absolutely. He said, did you know I was at Ebbets Field? Really? You never told me that. And I'm 55 years old. You figure I'm a sportscaster. Yeah, I was there the day the catcher dropped the ball. I said, that Mickey Owen? You were there when Mickey Owen had the pass ball? He says, yeah, I was sitting behind home plate when Mickey Owen had the pass ball, World Series.
1941.
1941. I couldn't believe it. I said, Dad. He says, I'll tell you another game I was at. What's that? You remember the game in the left fielder made that great catch and DiMaggio kicked the dirt? Gianfrido made the catch and left. DiMaggio is kicking the dirt in the 47 World Series.
Tony was sitting right next to him.
Tony's out in center field. I said, Dad, how do you not tell me this? And then he gives me another one. 1949, Game 1 of the World Series. The ball landed 2 feet from him. Tommy Henrik, bottom of the ninth against Newcomb. 1-0 Yankees in game 1 of the 49 World Series. I said, Dad, you went to all these games? And I've been here for 40, 25 years, and you've never told me that I could not get over it, for crying out loud. That TR went to those 3 games. Those are the 3 greatest games you've ever seen in life.
Well, it didn't work.
Couldn't believe it. But your relationship with Tony
was
was
great.
something special.
Hey, listen, that was great. He was a great fan, and you know what? He loved going on the show.
Oh, he loved
and
the
you
show.
know what? He was great on the show. He was
good.
classic.
Personality.
He was classic stuff. So you liked the Jackie Robinson movie?
Oh, I loved it. Didn't you like it?
Oh yeah. I was watching this movie the other night. You know.
What movie were you watching?
It's an old movie.
What's it called?
Daredevil.
We gotta tell the story. It's funny. The blind.
They've all heard the clip.
The blind superhero. It went over my head. It went over your head. What a piece of tape that is, for crying out loud.
I said to Dog, do you see this movie, the Affleck movie, Daredevil? About a blind crime fighter. Dog goes, true story.
And you
sure,
didn't.
Absolutely, true
and
story.
you didn't respond.
True story. Absolutely.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh God.
All right, here we go.
Questions.
Questions from Peter on Twitter. Dog's on Twitter. You on Twitter? You're on Twitter?
I haven't been on it recently. I have a Twitter account.
You have a Twitter account?
Yes, I do.
What was your most memorable show / guest? Let's start with show. Hard to do one show being the most memorable show, but what show, a couple of shows stick out through the years, but what show sticks out to you? What show do you, if I ask that question, what show sticks out to you?
Well, from 9/11, some of those,
Yeah,
but I don't want to go there.
Magic Johnson, AIDS, remember
That's
that?
what I was going to bring up, too. That
Giamatti having a heart attack. I mean, but which one to you?
That's Corey Lytle.
Oh, jeez.
That was terrible.
That was rough.
We were on the, that was a Met rainout that night.
That was a rough one, Corey.
That was the Met rainout. You remember that? In 2006, we were at Shea Stadium.
The Yankees were playing the Tigers in a playoff game.
Oh,
right?
Maybe it was at Yankee Stadium.
Yankee
Stadium.
Game. Yes.
And or I thought it was the Mets Cardinals, whatever it was. And we got this report. There was this. Oh my God.
Oh, Johnny's here.
Johnny Franco.
John Franco, everybody, folks.
Walks the ballpark. I love you, Johnny. Say something funny, Johnny.
Guy gets 400 saves and you say he walks the ballpark.
He knows I'm kidding him. I would say at 4 o'clock on that 91 day when nobody knew what that press conference was going to be about, and Magic announced that he was retiring from the NBA. I thought that was you remember that day, Mike?
Yes, very well.
That was an historic. We were shocked, you and I sitting there doing that show.
And the other thing was after Mickey Mantle died, that was unbelievable. That whole
you
week.
were great with that.
Well, that whole week was just, the people were just so emotional. Like I've never seen them for like the whole week. And one guest, most memorable guest, who's the one guest that you were more excited to have on the show?
Memorable?
Well, let's say, or more, anyway, memorable, or just more that he was on the show, you were more excited that he was on. I mean, we had the president on.
You know what it was? I'd have to say Jordan. We only had Jordan on once. And we had Jordan on after he had the double nickel. He was after he retired. But we asked him about the double nickel at the Garden when he had the 55 against the Knicks.
Yeah, when he got mad.
And he got mad.
Yeah.
But that's the only time in all those years that we ever had him on. We had Bird on. We had Magic
Bird
on.
more than once,
we had Wilt Chamberlain on. But we had Wilt on. But having met Jordan, he was good. You know, he was good that he was promoting something. That spot is probably one of the most memorable
spots. The guy we always wanted to get, we never got, was Tiger Woods.
Never got Tiger.
Never
got Jack Nicklaus. I don't think we got Jack Nicklaus. I never talked to Jack. Maybe one day when I wasn't there.
Do we have Nicklaus or no?
I don't remember.
Maybe we didn't. I'm not sure. All right. Ready for this one? This is from Mitchell on Facebook. What was the biggest Mike and the Mad Dog feud?
First off,
the biggest Now, there were only, like, how many bad ones?
3.
3? 3. One lasted 6 months.
Well, the first fight that we had was in 90 or 91.
Right.
Mike was on vacation, and I asked Steve Cohen, the board op, can we get rid of the Mike and the Mad Dog jingles for a second, please? You remember that one?
Yeah.
That was bad.
But the worst one was when we were fighting anyway, and you wanted to go to Indiana.
That's right.
And
that was a bad one.
Our flight got canceled, and I wouldn't wait around for another flight, went to the station, and didn't go on the remote, and you went crazy, and I don't think we talked for 6 months.
That's important. All right. Remember, Knicks Pacers.
Knicks Pacers. That was a big one.
That was that big. We got to tell the story right. Knicks Pacers. Mike and I are going to Indiana for Game 6. We drive to LaGuardia. I'm in New Canaan. Mike's on Long Island. Flights canceled. We have to go through Washington to go to Indiana. Remember that, Mike?
Yep.
We had to go to Indianapolis. Mike didn't want to get on a plane. I couldn't wait to get out of New Canaan. I wanted to go to Indiana in the worst way. Mike did not want to go on that plane, and so we didn't go. Mike and I were so upset at each other that literally, this was in mid-May, it was this conference final, we did not talk. This is true. We did not talk. Hello, how are you? Nothing. They brought us into the upstairs in the general manager's office. We stood up and almost had a fight. We did not talk until you sent me an invite when you got married to
I didn't send you an invite. She sent you an invite.
Rose, stand up for a minute. Rose, stand up.
Rose saved Mike and the Mad Dog.
That's the point. Rose, you saved that
Our
show.
wedding, I wasn't sending you an invite.
Yeah, you were not going to invite me to that?
Rose saved Mike and the Mad Dog.
Because
listen, there's only one ham in the family, folks. I'm sorry. That's it.
That was important.
Yes.
And we broke the
But
ice.
that was true. I didn't even know she had invited you.
And you knew I was going to come. You because everybody was surprised I showed up. You knew I'd come to that. That was the biggest fight.
I was hoping you wouldn't come, to be honest with you.
What'd you say?
I was hoping you wouldn't come.
That was a big fight.
Now, here's the amazing thing. We did a top-rated show every day, 5.5 hours a day for 6 months, and never spoke even during the commercials.
Never spoke.
One time.
We basically
wouldn't even look at each other during the commercials.
We basically did a show within the show. I did half the show, Mike did half the show, and didn't do anything with you. It was an
Never,
incredible
and
moment.
no one ever picked up on it.
Nobody did.
Never. For 6 months we did it. That was true. So that was the biggest feud. I think that was there was one late, and there wasn't one when you left. There really wasn't a feud.
Really wasn't. We should do that for a second.
There really wasn't a feud when you left.
I did not handle it right. I should have come across much open with that. But the idea that somehow Mike was livid that I left, or
no, there wasn't.
There was not a problem. Matter of fact, I left when I leave, July, right? That next spring, I hadn't spoken to Mike in 7 months. That next spring, I'm driving home, and who calls me on a cell phone? You did. And I hadn't spoken to Mike in 7 months, and he filled me in on everything New York. Girardi, they get mad at Girardi with the lineups. They're getting mad with this, getting mad with that. And that was the first time we spoke in 7 months. Do you remember that phone call?
I do.
And that just goes to show you that there was no real, I didn't handle it right, but there was no hard feelings.
And you know, since we've been apart, we haven't really spoken that many times. Now, the last couple of months since we prepared for this, we've been together like 4 or 5 times, which is the most by far we've been together by far in the last 8 years. So we haven't seen that much of us, but there's been no animosity or anything when we get together. But here's the next question. What are the odds you would ever do a regular show together again?
Well,
wait. Now, I got a question. Who wants us to do a show together again?
I thought you were retiring in 2017.
I'm going home to spend some time with my family.
Well, I can't do the show with Joe Benigno, for crying out loud.
Well, you can.
I guess I could, yeah.
All right, so you know what? Never say never. How about that? That's for Dog's next negotiation. That's what that's for. Now, what is this is from Daniel on Facebook. What is the on-air moment each of you are most proud of?
Boy. I got a couple. What'd he say? I didn't hear that.
Praise the Lord.
I'll tell you which one. This is an easy one.
What are you most proud of?
You ready? I'll give you mine. Yes had that big dispute with the Yankees. Yes had that big dispute with the cable companies about putting the games on the air. And you and I worked for Yes, and we took the side of the cable companies because we thought Yes was out of line. That took some guts because we worked for Yes, we were getting paid by Yes. We had Leo Hendry on, who was the chairman, and we were killing him. Leo, make a deal. Put the Yankee games on your TV set, please. The fact that we bit the hand that fed us, which not a lot of people would do, that was, do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was pretty proud.
Well, in that vein, I would say the thing that we did where we showed some is when we stuck up for Imus, because that wasn't easy. We got killed. Internally, we got killed. But externally, you know, who knows? It's hard to think about what we've done in 19 years. We've raised a lot of money for charities with the Tomorrow's Children's Fund and with a lot of charities. But you know who should be proud tonight? You folks, because you raised over $1 million for the Garden of Dreams, which is really the
I'll give you one more for a second. How about the time, I don't know if people remember this, how about the time that you and I, for the Fireman's Fund, I think it was the Fireman's Fund, did the 24 hours nonstop.
Yeah, that was the dumbest show we ever did. I don't remember what we were thinking about. We did 24 consecutive hours of Mike and the Mad Dog in Rockefeller Center, as a matter of fact.
Rockefeller
right over there.
Center, yep.
And I said to Dog, I said, listen, it's a long show. You know, I said, you got to pace yourself. About 1 in the morning, they lock us in because they don't want anybody, you know, walking around from the street. So they lock us in. There's nobody there. Now it's 1 o'clock in the morning. We have Tiki Barber on from Israel. That's not the point of the story. We have Tiki Barber on from Israel. He and Dog get in a brawl. I mean, I basically could have left for an hour. They were screaming back and forth.
That's when Tiki left the Today Show, and that's when he left the Giants.
Dog got so exhausted that by 5 o'clock, he had to go curl up in the corner and go to sleep for 2 hours.
I had no voice left.
So I told him to pace himself. He couldn't do it. But that was probably the dumbest show we ever did, 24 hours. You know, because that was nuts. I wouldn't want to try that again. But, you know, 24 hours, what were we thinking?
And how about the time that when Milbury came on, and the first question I asked him, Mike, how do you still have your job as the Islander general manager?
Way to soften him up, Dog. Way to soften him up.
Never talk to me again, for crying out loud. Oh, God.
Now, talking about that, we've had our good days and bad days with another very colorful, very successful manager. Let's go to the videotape.
During his 7-year tenure in New York, Bobby Valentine took the imagination of Mets fans with a passion for the game and an outspoken personality. His charisma was no doubt an attraction, but it was his team's run for a title that captured the hearts of New Yorkers in 2000.
The Mets are going to the World Series.
In a season full of magic, the Mets would eventually run out of it against the Yankees, but not before Valentine cemented his place as one of the New York Mets' most loved managers ever.
We love the guy. How about Bobby Valentine?
Oh, Michael. Bobby. Bobby.
Woo!
Good to see you, Bobby.
Good to see you, Michael.
Thanks for staying around. You've been waiting a while, so we appreciate you
Thank you, Bob. For,
great show,
first of all,
great time.
Thank you. Bobby's always another one. You know, whether it was 9/11 or whenever, Bobby's always been pitching in, doing. I mean, I remember Bobby loading the trucks out in the street there. So Bobby is the guy who's always pitches in when it comes to a charity and does a very good job in that regard. He's done he deserves an applause for that. He does a very good job.
Okay, now it's time for them to kill me.
All right, here we go.
Something nice.
Well, let's go back. Here's the day. Here's the day. Bobby and I are going through a rough patch. So I go down to his office at 12:30 to have a little meeting. Just he and I. About 1:45, we're still in there, basically nose to nose, coming to blows down there in the Met locker room. He's doing a show by himself. We're down there still fighting till about 20 after 2, about a 2-hour brawl in your office.
So what the hell do you think that was?
I have no idea. I don't even remember
at the time. Okay.
I don't even remember,
I don't even remember
but we were pretty feisty in those days.
It was hot and heavy. It was fun, and you know, we did some good radio.
Oh, you did.
We did some good radio.
I love the time that Bobby is going to remember this at spring training in Port St. Lucie. And Bobby's down the third base line, 5 o'clock, whatever it might be. And WFAN had not reached a deal yet with Bobby to come on weekly basis.
Mark and Joel, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Bobby said, you know, I'm in New York.
They had the 10 or something out there.
I'm in New York. I'm managing the Mets, and I got the Padre manager making more than me doing. You remember that?
Yes.
And Bobby went on and on. He was so right that they hadn't made a deal with him yet to be the weekly spot.
My agent was in San Diego. He had Bruce as his client, and he couldn't figure out how he was getting more money in San Diego than you cheap son of a bitch was paying me. You know? But it really wasn't you. It really wasn't. No.
How was it being the other guy managing against the Yankees in 2000 in the World Series?
Woo! You know, that was such a blur, and it was it really was a spectacular time. I saw Johnny Franco here, and I know Jeff Wilpon was here earlier, and it was a fabulous time for the Mets. Johnny, they still love you.
That is unbelievable. I mean, how do you boo Johnny Franco? What, are you out of your mind?
That wasn't Johnny they were booing.
I think they were booing Jeff.
I get it.
Hey, you didn't even get the joke. It went right over your head. I mean, geez.
But that was a special time managing that ball club.
Yeah, and you know, I played for Joe in 77 and 78 when he was a Met manager. People sometimes forget that, and he's been the same class act as he was then as he is now. But in between, when we were doing battle, and we were doing that first Subway interleague series, which was fiasco after fiasco, as you remember, the doubleheader, the Twilight doubleheader, and all. But Joe was just so classic during that World Series.
Well, here's the thing, though, to tell the truth about that World Series. It was so unfair to the Mets. The Yankees completely shut down from the media. They would do nothing. They would do...
They brought their own furniture in, though. They had their furniture in. They were comfortable.
George caused the flood over in the locker room and brought in his own furniture, but they just shut down. They did nothing and left the Mets to do every interview for every media person in the country. And the Mets were not happy about that.
Well, guys thought it was really cool until they were so darn tired of talking. And they so overanalyzed every pitch and everything that was going on, they realized what the Yankees were doing.
But let's be honest for a second. That series is 5 games. It hinges on a couple of plays.
Oh, first game. First game.
Timo Perez. I mean, we start right there. I mean, you know. I mean, you guys were an inch away from that being a very different series.
Paul O'Neill walked in. Did he walk
the
in
great
right?
walk.
Great at bat. My career is like defined by a great walk.
A great walk.
It's great. That's cool.
And,
really.
And Timo losing his way on the base paths.
And Tino stopping to run a little. Yeah, that was.
And you know what?
Great group of guys. Great heart. Great fans. The city was never more alive than it was in that year in that series. I just stayed in the city the whole time. I walked the streets. I was in the restaurants, the bars. I was in the bars and the restaurant. Well, I was walking the streets a lot, and everyone was into it.
And Mike and I both thought this. I thought you took an unfair hit because Leiter pitched Game 5, and you left him out there. and I know you beat yourself up over it, but Leiter was pitching so well, and Luis Sojo hit
He got beat on a 400 hopper.
I mean, he hit that 800. He hit that bouncing ball, went 900.
400 hopper up the middle.
And you took a lot of hits for that.
And remember, it went by our fifth-string shortstop.
Yeah, who was the shortstop?
It was, it might have been Kurt Abbott.
Yeah, it was Kurt Abbott.
At the time.
It was Kurt Abbott.
Who got picked off against the Indians in Game 1.
He got picked off in that
What a
series,
bust
too,
he was with the Mets.
Well, he was a good guy, but he wasn't supposed to be playing then. You know, that was supposed to be who? Ray, who?
But you did nothing wrong with that.
Who? Mora. It could have been a lot of guys.
How about the Piazza home run after 9/11?
Spectacular. Everyone felt it, saw it. Yeah, spectacular. It, you know, that wasn't a game. You guys know that, and you all know that. That was an event. It was the greatest event I ever had the opportunity to go to and be part of, and then to feel every second the pulse of this city, and then to see everyone get on their feet and cheer after Mike hit that home run and change. I think it changed the world.
You know,
it changed my world. I guarantee that.
Dog remembers
it was special.
that day.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of tension that day.
Oh,
and
no one knew what to do, how to act. Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, Fred called us and said, listen, the fans are going to be a little apprehensive. You're going to do the show there, come in early, do the whole show there, and let everyone know that the ballpark's okay. You're in the ballpark, you're talking from the ballpark.
Yes.
And let everyone feel comfortable about coming back to the ballpark, because everyone was a little on pins and needles there, obviously.
A lot on pins and needles.
And that's the only time, Dog will tell you, we a lot of times have sat through the bomb-sniffing dogs coming through during about 5 o'clock.
Sure.
That day, they made us get out of the stadium. Remember, they made us put a tape on to get out of the stadium. They never used to make us get out. They made us get out that day. They were that tight on security. And there was a lot of tension. Mike broke the tension, obviously. I never saw a more emotional. That's still the most emotional moment I've ever seen in any sport. Was that home run.
I'm with you. The emotion
really
was incredible. Yeah. Emotion was
How about him making the Hall of Fame? You had a lot to do with his career.
Yes.
How about Mike making the Hall of Fame?
Yes. Long overdue. Best hitting catcher in baseball. He's going to do us proud as he goes into the hall wearing a Met uniform and first position player ever, you know, as a Met. And
he was a great hitter.
Oh, a great hitter.
And not only
he's a great big hitter.
How many
as you like to say, he's a great
how
big
many
hitter.
big home runs did he hit?
He was big, boy. He was big. He's big, Mike. God bless you, Mike.
You know, how true was it? Everybody likes to think that Mike and I brought Piazza to the Mets. Because the Mets...
I've heard that.
Now, you know, but we were campaigning for that forever. Now, I've heard other people say, that's a bunch of nonsense, not true, everything else, he was coming anyway. You were involved. It was your team. That was an overachieving team that played pretty well before the Piazza trade on Memorial Day. How about Piazza coming to New York in '97?
I think you had a lot to do with it. I'm not sure because we flew back. Steve asked me, what do you think of Mike Piazza? I gave him a couple one-liners. What do you think about Mike Piazza? But we had a pretty good catcher at the time, Todd Hundley. I said, Mike Piazza, what are we dreaming? And then the next day it was off. Remember the headlines? Off, no chance.
Steve came on our show and said, no way.
It's over. And I got on my bike and did my pregame. And then I went into the bathroom and I sat down and I was doing my pregame. And Steve came in. Oh, yeah, that too, yeah. And Steve came in and knocked on the door. He said, yeah, what is it? He says, are you sitting down?
Yes.
I said, yes. Says we just traded for Mike Piazza. He said, you got to be me.
How about the way he just changed the culture of the team? And the attendance went crazy through the roof.
Yeah.
One guy changed the whole organization. He really
I believe that totally.
I totally agree.
We lived it. Johnny and I lived it. We were there. We were doing fine. It was moving along. And when he got here, everything changed. Perception included.
I know. I just thought of the game. And you mentioned Johnny. And he showed tremendous guts that night. You remember that '99 game when they were about to lose the big lead? And on our Friday night, he left Franco in the 9th against the Pirates.
Pirates, oh, yes.
Oh, he was walking.
Yes.
Where are you, Johnny?
No, he wasn't walking up. The umpire was missing him, Johnny. You weren't walking up.
I'm telling you.
Hey, that was a ride on a Wonder Wheel that night. That was. I remember that.
But you, and I tell you, Johnny got a 3-2 strike to somebody in a big spot, and you left Johnny in that game.
Johnny got squeezed that night by the umpire.
Absolutely.
And John had all sorts of guts. But you left them in that game. And that was the game that the Mets, they swept the Pirates, and then they beat the Reds, and then they go and beat Arizona. But you left him in the game in that ninth inning, a game I had to have against. You remember that ninth inning?
I could leave him in any game. He was as dependable as anybody.
You know what he had? He had guts.
Yeah, he had guts. You bet he had guts.
That's what he has. He's a New York guy. He's got guts. That's exactly it. Hey, how about this, though?
Yeah.
You're as good a baseball analyst as there is.
Hey, how about this real quick, if I can? I was on the show with you guys for 8 years.
Yes.
You convinced me after show number maybe 260 that collectively you were the best baseball minds in America.
No.
Now you come out tonight and you say you had your choice, you'd manage your coach a football team? What the hell's that all about? Come on, you guys.
You know why? Because the guy in football has more power over the team than anybody else.
Hell, here.
Absolutely.
And more coaches.
And more coaches. He's a chairman of the board. Can you put the Met... We hear a lot of stuff about the Met 4 pitchers. Give us your realistic thought about just how good, or maybe they're not, maybe they are. Put these 4 guys in perspective, same place, same time. The 4 of them, as this year starts, together.
I don't even know how to compare it. It's nothing in my lifetime.
Have you seen anything like it?
I've never seen anything like it.
I agree.
And I love watching it every day. I've never seen anything like it. As far as quality is concerned.
One guy said, one scout said, Bob, you agree with this? That's at the same age with power stuff, that's the best 4 pitches ever to come up at the same time in the history of baseball.
You know, the only ones that people talk about, my father-in-law mentioned it, was that Cleveland team where they had 54. They had 4 guys. Sure. They won 20. They pitched in a 4-man rotation. Right. You know, it was Feller and Wynn. And
Mike Garcia.
Marky Garcia, who wasn't the hard thrower. But, you know.
Bob Lemon.
And Bobby Lemon. And other than that, who had the quality and the competitiveness? No, the Braves were very good, damn it, and I hate them. But I don't hate anything.
But look at how...
But they did have very good pitching, but they didn't have
3.
this kind of pitching. No, they did not.
So these guys, you agree with that? That's not overstating the fact with these 4 guys.
No, now they have to go out and do it, and I can't wait for it to start. Yeah.
You know, it's funny, Mike.
Yeah, they're going to do it.
If, in fact, Benitez had gotten that save in '99 in Atlanta, he would have done what the Red Sox did 5 years later before the Red Sox. Down 3-0 to the Braves.
Yeah.
And Bobby said, hey, we're not out of this yet.
We could have
Ventura hit the home. Remember Ventura hit the... And then you went to Atlanta. Al got bombed on short rest. Ricky Henderson's playing crosswords in a dugout. Where's Ricky? He's playing in a puzzle. And you stayed in there. You came back. Piazza had a big homer off Smoltz. And then Benitez couldn't get the save in the 9th inning.
Yes, and then Kenny Rogers walked the guy who never walked.
Oh, Rogers.
That's it.
Against Andrew Jones with the bases loaded.
You and I had
there were a couple of different Kenny Rogers boys.
You know, Dotel in the bullpen. He was my last pitcher. He was a young right-hander who was tough on right-handers. And when everyone says, regrets, I had a few, it might have been that one.
Wow.
That he didn't bring that slider in the pitch to Andrew
What
Jones.
manager did you like managing against the most in the other dugout?
You know, I really enjoyed when I was young doing against Billy Martin. Because Billy acknowledged everything during the game. You know, if you did something, he'd kind of look over and acknowledge it.
Oh, he would.
If he did something, he'd stare over and say, how about that? And there was more of that in those days, you know, like
really
watching. Oh, yeah. And he was fun. And it was always the next day, hey, Dig, how you doing? Good job yesterday, Dig. Sorry we had to kick your butt, you know.
So he was good to a young manager.
He was very good. He was very,
You've told me this before. Bobby lives in Stanford, so I see him all the time. Tell Mike, I don't know if Mike's heard these stories, and he is Mr. Stanford, by the way, and does a superb job.
Mr. New Canaan, you know.
Tell Mike a couple stories that's phenomenal. Managing Texas, where George W. Bush is the owner.
I don't remember any of that. Actually... George was cool. George would come in, he'd jog every day, jog around the ballpark, the inner circle of the ballpark, and then he'd come in and he'd use the shower in my office because it was the only really running water we had in the clubhouse in those days, if you remember that Texas clubhouse. And, you know, we converted an old minor league stadium and everything, but then he would sit around for an hour, kind of with a towel around him, and we'd talk baseball, and then as soon as the players started coming in,
he'd leave.
He would leave. Yeah, and he really was a terrific person for baseball.
And he could not tell him about it. He couldn't fire you. That's a great story.
He couldn't. Well, he did.
He finally got up the gumption.
He finally got...
No, he didn't want to, right? Tell him that story.
Yeah, well, we were buddies, and enough buddies. We were friends. We were kind of colleagues. I was showing him the ropes of baseball as he was learning baseball. So, you know, all the stats were coming out then. What does this mean? How do you do this? What about lineups? Why do you steal more? We had a guy on our payroll named Craig Wright. He was a sabermetrician. In 1986, 7, 8, 9, and 1990. Oh, yeah. He would give you these theories about stolen bases and bunts, and first time ever anybody delved into that stuff. And George was he was all about it. You know, all about baseball. He would have wanted to be the commissioner.
Badly.
I think he did.
He kind of felt that he was going to be the commissioner.
I think it would have been a nice choice, but then he went on to be a governor, and then...
But he didn't want to fire you, right?
Well, I don't know. He said at one time it was and this was before he was president, he said the worst decision he ever made was firing me and trading Sammy Sosa.
Trading Sammy Sosa, that's right. And you, that's exactly. Would you manage again now?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
No?
Who the hell knows? I mean, I might. I'm on a couple speed dials in case, you know, in case something goes wrong, you know.
If someone offered you a decent team, would you take it?
Yeah, sure, probably. I don't know. Could. Who knows?
Well, that Red Sox thing, I was so happy that you got that chance.
You were happy at what happened in Boston? Yeah, you were happy,
I was so disappointed that didn't work. What happened up in Boston?
Everything. You know, there's a book out. I saw it all in Boston. It was eight months. You know, I was like in Texas for 7 years, and I was in Japan for 7 years, New York for 7 years, and Boston for 7 months. So, you know, yeah. It was a misery. I'm reading this book with my title on the book. I didn't even know a guy wrote it, some Russo guy, okay, who was a sports writer up there, and it's like the demise of Bobby Valentine, season 2012 or something. And I could remember stuff like Bobby Jenks was going to be my closer that year. I never met Bobby Jenks. Never said hello to the guy, okay? He like got in a car thing and then a drug thing and then a rehab thing. Where's my closer? He never came to the ballpark.
I remember that.
The whole year. you kidding?
And the Red Sox have been a mess. And they won the one, but they've been a mess the last 2 or 3 years. I always thought that was a tough spot for you.
It was terrible. I was terrible and it was terrible.
You were terrible?
You know what? We were 53 and 50 after 103 games. With a pretty lousy team. Pretty lousy. And then I was sitting in the clubhouse one day, ready to go for the national anthem, and along the bottom of the TV on ESPN came scrolling trade between Boston and LA. And I'm getting up and I'm tucking my shirt and I'm walking to the door and I'm looking at the TV and I said, what the hell? I'm Boston. Maybe this is basketball. I swear to God.
So they made a trade without consulting you.
I'm walking out of the office and going down to the dugout, and Adrian Gonzalez is in the clubhouse, and he says, "The hell am I in the lineup for? I'm traded to the Dodgers." I said, "Don't believe all that shit you read, Adrian. You're not traded to the Dodgers. You're playing first base tonight." So he goes down. He said, no, you know what he said? No, not only me, Punto, Carl, and Beckett are going too. I swear to God.
We left the wall up.
I swear to God.
I left the wall.
So I say, come on, this is all BS. What are you saying? I go down for the national anthem. Went down to the Boston Runner. All the guys are up on the stage. I get a tap on the shoulder. It's assistant general manager. He says, you better make out a new lineup. You can't have Punto and Gonzalez and Crawford in it. We just traded them. It happened. And then one other time, it was a lot of crazy stuff. This is God's honest. Jerry Royster would take my lineup card up, you know, my third base coach. So he took the lineup card up. We were playing, I wish I knew who it was. He comes back into the dugout, okay? And he says, you don't have to worry about this guy. God, I can't remember who it was. It was a right-handed hitter. He's a third. Valencia. We were playing Minnesota.
Right.
Right? Don't have to worry about him. He got traded. I said, okay, good. Cross him off the, the bottom of the lineup card for the other team. And our team took the field. I said, so, Jerry, who did he get traded? He said, us. It was an interesting year.
So you were in the loop.
Hey, I wasn't quite in the loop. No.
All right, give us a quick Yankee Met prediction. What would you say for the Yankee season this year?
Oh, I'm praying for him. You know, you're wondering what I'm praying for him to do, right? Yeah. I think they're going to win 90 games.
Do you really?
I think they're going to be in it. Yeah.
How would you like to have that bullpen?
I think that division's a very difficult division, and I don't know if 90 games is even going to give them a ticket to ride, but I think they're going to win 90 games.
All right, and the Mets, who's the favorite in the National League, the Mets or the Cubs?
I think the Mets are because they beat the Cubs. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Until the Cubs do something to the Mets in the postseason.
I think the Cubs are a little overrated. They have a lot of young players, and their pitching might not be as good as people think.
They're pretty good. They're darn good, and, you know, they have to continue to come together. It's not that easy a thing. You know, last year, this Met team came together.
Can Arrieta be that good again, though?
I doubt it.
Impossible, right?
Well, he threw, what, 80 extra innings last year, so
yes.
you got to wonder about that, right?
You got to wonder. Love their manager, love their idea. I mean, that's a cool place to be. You want to take a weekend off.
Wrigley Field.
This year, you go over when the Cubs are at home. That town, that city will be electric.
If I asked you 10 years from now, this might be a hard one, but you know what? You're good at these. If I asked you 10 years from now, Harvey, Matt, Syndergaard, DeGrom, which one's the most successful?
I got to say that Matt Harvey will have the best numbers.
Matt Harvey.
And I love the rest of them.
I know you do. No, they're all good.
Syndergaard's the youngest.
They're all good.
And he's spectacular.
But if you were going to bet on one, he'd be the one you bet on?
Put my nickel on the guy. I put my nickel on Cespedes. Oh, no, not Cespedes. Matt Harvey, yeah.
Well, listen, thanks very much.
Mike,
Bobby Valentine, everybody. Great job. Thank you, Bobby.
They're back!
Thank you, Bobby. Thanks for coming on.
They're back!
Very good job for Bobby Valentine. Absolutely. All right, Doug, before we get to Jeff Fingali, a couple things here. You
First
ready?
off, don't forget to text the reunion for the donations, right?
Yes,
You want to do that?
We'll do that right now. Fans, you can text reunion to 72727 to make a tax-deductible donation to the Garden of Dreams, the foundation. Obviously, anywhere, whether you're watching on MSG, listening on Sirius, listening on The Fan. Two things. The Masters.
Yes.
Next week. Who do you like?
I can't take Bubba Watson again.
Well, he's got a bad back, man of a bad back too. I'll give you three guys. Give me three guys.
Jason Day.
Jason Day.
Jason Day is playing so well right now.
He is won the last two tournaments.
Oh my God,
Jason Day.
I don't think Spieth will win. I think Mickelson will have a good tournament, but I don't think he will win. I think Charles Schwartzel will play well. You know, he won this year.
Would you
already.
go Rory up or Rory down?
Rory's not going to win.
No Spieth, no Rory.
Yeah, I don't think those two are going to win. And I don't think Phil. I think Phil will be good, but I don't think he'll win.
So I'll give you three guys. Who you taking?
Scott, third one.
You're taking Scott, Day, and Schwartzel.
Those would be the three I take.
All right, I'll take. Now, Bubba, I'm leaving out because they say his back's iffy, so we'll leave him out.
He's good there, as you know.
Because he's going to have a chance if he's there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll go Mickelson. I like the lefty. Plus, he's keeping it in the fairway right now.
He's
when
playing
he hits
well.
the ball.
He's had a good year.
I know it's a long shot, but you know what? I still take him.
You've always loved him. You've always loved him.
Yes. I'll take. You took both Day and Scott, who are the hot players.
Well, Day, I love.
I know this is a risky pick. I will take as one of my three Dustin Johnson.
He's so up and down.
Because he can bring that course to his knees.
Yeah, absolutely right.
All he's got to do is make a darn putt once in a while.
And avoid the bad blow-up hole.
Right.
He has that bad hole.
Yeah, get a 12 on one hole.
Exactly.
You know that, or a couple of snowmen down a stretch.
Which he does.
Yes.
Right.
I'll take Mickelson. I'll take Dustin Johnson. And I will take, even though he's been terrible, because of the way he can putt, I'll take Spieth.
He has been bad.
You know what? He chased the money all over the world.
He's
so
played too much.
He did. He signed a $9 zillion deal with Under Armour. He didn't have to go chase the money all over the world.
He has played too much.
And he hasn't played well.
No, he has not.
The way he putts is unbelievable.
I tell you though, I love Day right now.
Day's been great.
Oh God, he's been.
And Adam Scott's been really good.
Yeah, he is, and he's won there.
Adam Scott's been really good.
And he's won there. That's a great week.
But so now, the other thing we didn't get to. NBA Finals.
Right. Well, let's do Golden State for a second.
Good.
Does Golden State break the Bulls' record?
Yes.
They've lost 7.
Yes.
They only can lose 2 more. They play the Spurs twice.
Yes.
You think they break the record?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they're motivated to break the record.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they break the record. Yes.
I think definitely the Bulls Definitely the Cavs in the final. And I think that it will be a classic series. And you and I used to fight.
Give me a finals. Give me a finals.
Golden State
first.
and Cleveland.
Golden State, Cleveland.
Yeah, Golden State in 7 because of home court.
You know, Cleveland's they've just been bad.
Yeah,
they're dysfunctional.
Yeah, but who's going to beat them?
No one in the East, because LeBron will beat them by himself.
Golden State's going to beat them. But no
one. San Antonio's going to beat them.
Oh, what a series. You know what I like about that series? Both teams have not lost a game at home.
They've been unbelievable. That's going to be an incredible series.
Great
you might have to go do a remote there. All right, listen. Talking about that, let's go to our last videotape.
For parts of 7 seasons, Jeff Van Gundy roamed the sidelines for the New York Knicks. Under his guidance as head coach, the Knicks went to the playoffs multiple times. But what has left an indelible mark in the eyes of most Knicks fans was their 1999 Cinderella run.
And NBA history has just been made.
Despite an eventual loss to the mighty San Antonio Spurs, it was Jeff Van Gundy's tenacity, dedication, and brilliant leadership that guided his New York team in a season that will never be forgotten.
Bring him in.
Wow, I love the guy. How about a nice ovation for Jeff Van Gundy today?
Jeff, good to see you, big. Good to see you.
Coach, how are you, pal? Good. Good to see you.
This is like an exile. This is the only time I get to talk to Van Gundy is because on a special occasion. I never get to talk to him anymore.
I get him on all the time. He joins us all the time.
I miss him. He's been unbelievable. You know, it seems, I watched those tapes. How much do we miss a May Day on a Sunday where you go in there and there's a 3 o'clock great Knick playoff game against the Heat, against the Pacers, against the Bulls, you grabbing somebody's leg. I mean, that was unbelievable. How tense was how great was the Garden in those years?
You know, as I was coming here today, I was reflecting like you guys were on 94, and my greatest memory is we were playing Game 5. We were at shoot-around at the Garden, and the Rangers had won. The parade was that day, and Mike Keenan came barreling down the hallway on a motorcycle going about 35 miles an hour. It was the craziest thing. And Riley's talking to the team as Keenan's vroom, vroom, vroom on the motorcycle. It was an amazing thing.
You had Riley, and I think I think Riley for Mike and me was very significant, and you were part of that because he always came on.
Game 7, he'd give us a half hour, you know, and he'd give us everything. He would sit there and he'd go through every play and the psychology, and that's why he was so upset when he faxed in his resignation. He thought Dog and I should have supported him. He didn't forgive us he's never forgiven us, to be honest with you. I sat in the pool in L.A. I was in L.A. with my wife, and my wife said, Pat Riley's down at the pool. I went down to the pool and sat with him for an hour, and he talked to me about how upset he was. This is 4 years later, that we weren't loyal to him. And I said, Pat, you faxed in your thing from Greece. I mean, you know, blah, blah. But he was great to us in those years. And, you know, you're part of that Riley camp, and it's a great camp. I mean, Riley was an unbelievable figure in this town. He really was.
He really was. You know, I know it didn't end well, but people... when he came, thought of him as Hollywood.
Oh.
He was opposite of Hollywood. He was Schenectady,
tough guy.
street fighter.
He just looked good in a suit.
Yeah, a lot better than me.
A lot better than anybody.
And I tell you, when he left, Mike and I, on the air, told Checkers a million times, what are you doing? You got Van Gundy sitting there. I don't want Don Nelson coaching the Knicks.
Oh.
Let Jeff coach the team. I mean, he's perfect. And he didn't want to do it because he wanted to get the big coach in. He thought he had to get the big coach in. And then I had you on there a few weeks ago, and you were telling me about this. Nelson gets fired, and I did not realize, you know, he lost his first game, Jeff, as coach, to the Sixers. Give him that little story there. It was a good one.
Well, it just shows you how standards also have changed. Don Nelson, with Charles Oakley hurt, was 34 and 25, and he got fired. And I still remember where Starks out there. I don't know if he's still here, but he had Coach Nelson had taken me into John Starks' room on the road, and Hubert Davis at that time was an assistant at Carolina now, was starting, and he was going to move Hubert into the starting lineup and John off the bench. And Starks, who was a team-first guy, said, "Why?" And Don Nelson looked him in the eye and says, "Because he's better." Starks ripped the lamp out of his room and threw it at Don Nelson, and he ducked. So it was, you know, it was a different time back then. You know?
Man, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the mentality, that the toughness in the league in those days. You look at this league now, and I'm not trying to knock anything, but, I mean, they're playing Pop-A-Shot, okay, compared to the game you guys used to play. You guys used to have a guy go down the lane, and X-Man would put the guy in the 4th row. You couldn't get down the lane, no blood, no foul. I mean, you commit 5 fouls on every play. Now they don't touch anybody. You go down the lane now, you wave the ball, nobody touches you. It's a completely different game.
It's a different sport right now, but I still, when you talk about that, I reflect on our first practice with Coach Riley. We went down to Charleston for training camp. Coach Riley brought the Madison Square Garden court down there to lay over their court because their court was too hard and it bothered Ewing's knees. I would have carried that thing from New York to save Ewing's knees. But so our first practice, the first thing we did was we broke up smalls at one end, bigs at the other. And it was a blockout drill. It was all about, like, toughness. And our guards are, you know, sort of touching each other, but down at the other end, I'm with the guards, with Dick Carter, and I'm hearing, like, heavy metal contact at the other end. And you're hearing, you know, grunts and groans, and all of a sudden, first practice, Xavier McDaniel and Anthony Mason are throwing haymakers, and they're going around the gym, and no one is stepping in. And it goes on for, like, you know, a good 2 or 3 minutes, and it set the tone. And by the next year, the marketing campaign that got rejected was a lane on the front cover with an outline of a dead body. And it was Knicks, but it was appropriate.
It was. Your first game, you got beat by Philadelphia. I don't remember that. And then you beat the Bulls. Go ahead.
I do. So Coach Nelson gets fired that morning. Ernie comes to my room and says, "You're the coach." And I said, of who? And, you know, we just let Coach Nelson go. So I go up and see Coach Nelson. He says, "It's great, you know, go ahead." And my first move is I decided to go with all the old guys, and I start Herb Williams at power forward. Tom Thibodeau, who is, you know, now a great, you know, coach, was on the other bench as an assistant. They were, when I say god-awful, I mean god-awful, that Sixer team, just like now. And they beat us by 8. So we're coming back, we're taking a bus, and Mike Saunders, the legendary trainer of the Knicks, yeah, give him a hand. He gives me a Philly cheesesteak, and I was getting sick to my stomach because I'm thinking, I think the Sixers won maybe 17 that year, and we're going against what turns out to be the 72-win Bull team. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, what is going on? But we practiced the next day, and we shot around on that Sunday. You remember the 5:30 games, right?
Yeah, great.
So we shot at the Garden at 9. And I didn't know if we would win, but I knew we were bringing it because we had unbelievable competitors. You know, when you're blessed to coach Derek Harper, Starks, Mason, Oakley, Ewing, I mean, you got it pretty good as a first-year coach. And I think we beat him 27 that night, and Charlie Ward was knocking it in, and, you know, we were rolling.
You know, you think about your career and, you know, how a shot changes lives. Obviously, the Allen Houston shot, you know, changes yours, we know, and changes your career into a tremendous coaching career, you know. But, you know, it's funny, that whole, from Riley's days through your days, through what Ewing did and the second run at the Spurs, where obviously you're overmatched in the finals, but there was so much drama, intensity, passion for those Knicks teams in this town. I mean, I said, someone asked me the day in one of the interviews I did for this, and they asked me the biggest change, and I said, the biggest change is I don't talk Knicks anymore. We used to talk Knicks days on end. We don't talk basketball. We haven't in years. And, you know, those days, it was big. You know, Sunday, I didn't get to Mother's Day one year from about 6 years in a row because there was a Knick game on Sunday afternoon, you know?
Yeah.
I remember my mother used to always say, oh, there's no Knick game on Mother's Day. So every year she'd be complaining about that. But there was a Knick game on Mother's Day. Every year you were playing a home game on. So, you know, you miss those games now. There hasn't been that kind of drama in this town. You grabbing a 6'10" guy's leg. I mean, all the good stuff.
Yeah, about that. So people always say, like, what were you thinking? And I really do understand when criminals plead not guilty by temporary insanity, because I don't remember one thing about going out there. And, but, you know, I owe Alan a lot. My career never gets started if, you know, he doesn't make that shot. And he unbelievable offensive talent. People always say, what do the Knicks need? I said, they need guys like him.
Yeah,
you know?
Can shoot, absolutely.
And if Larry Johnson's still here, you know, like, people forget. We always remember the 4-point play.
Yep.
But he was, and I think the players that are here tonight, the absolute most selfless teammate that has ever put on a Knick uniform.
Yep.
No one has sacrificed more for the better of the team than that guy, fighting injury and
doing whatever you asked him to do.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you think the NBA was ridiculously harsh with the suspensions when everybody left the bench in that Miami game?
Do I think so?
Well, they had a rule.
Oh, stop. They enforce the rules they want to enforce at the time they want to enforce them. They don't go by the rules.
That was the dumbest decision in history.
Listen,
of course, the Knicks are serious.
Oh, absolutely.
Morning the next year, because it was lockout, you're never served a suspension. The one time they brought him back right away because it was good for the, you know, quote, good for the game. Ewing took one step on the floor to get a better look. Now, we were wrong to have left the bench. Like Tom Thibodeau used to always say, may have been beaten but never out-competed, and we weren't backing down from any fight. But we were wrong there, but Ewing should have definitely not been suspended, and we win the home game
Game
with
6.
Ewing.
Yeah,
There's no
game
question.
6.
Yeah.
Of course, we'd love to talk to you about coaching, and we you know, hope that I still hope one day you come back and coach because you're such a good. You're good on TV. You and Breen are great on TV.
Oh, you're great on
TV. You
TV.
really found the Knicks doing this TV stuff. You have this wicked sense of humor. Everyone always thought, here's this droll little coach who's not a real guy, who's a guy who's a real, you know, funny guy, and then you turn into this comedian doing the games.
You know, I don't really know anything about broadcasting, but like when you're with Breen, he's like playing with a great point guard. Right?
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, so, but he looks at me sometimes like, what are you talking about?
You say some strange stuff. You really do.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't even believe half the stuff I say after a while.
All right, give me some stuff now. Golden State, San Antonio. Who wins?
Golden State.
7
Golden
games?
State?
7 games?
7 games?
5.
5 games?
Well, how can you disagree with that?
Well, they haven't. Spurs haven't lost a game at home yet.
Correct.
Spurs did a good job 10 days ago, the game that you did defensively. They got Curry out of the game.
Because I picked Golden State doesn't mean I'm down on San Antonio. I just think when a team's about to win whatever they're going to win, 72, 3, 4, whatever it's going to be, you have to give, you know, ultimate respect, even though San Antonio, I mean, you think about the league this year. You have an incredible thing going on. You're going to have most likely, the most wins ever.
Ever.
Okay? 2 teams might go undefeated at home,
Correct.
which has never happened.
Right.
I mean, and then you have a Philadelphia team who still may tie for the worst record of all time.
You have great disparity in the league.
It's unbelievable what's going on. So, listen, I don't think anything that's wrong with San Antonio. What they've accomplished with their limitations is incredible. But I just think Golden State.
Are they unbeatable in your mind this year?
No, because, you know, we've seen how injury, it doesn't have to be a major
forget injury. Just if they come with all their players, are they unbeatable in your mind?
No, San Antonio could win. I think Oklahoma City, if they got the right defensive mindset, could win. And Cleveland.
Could anybody beat Cleveland in the East? Is there a team that could beat Cleveland in the East?
Yes. Yes. I think now it's out there, but I like.
This is in dream
I can't
world.
believe I say Charlotte. I love Charlotte's team. I love Charlotte's team.
Really?
They're a top 10 defensive team. They're a top 10 offensive team. and no one knows about it.
He's done a good job, Clifford.
Oh, he's unbelievable.
He's done, you know,
very good coach.
And I'll tell you right,
but you don't really think anyone's going to beat Cleveland,
No.
though, right?
No, I'm not betting that.
Right.
And Cleveland will lose to Golden State. Will they win 2 games?
Hey, you got LeBron. Now, I think it's people, like, because whatever social media, like drama, whatever it is, you can't underestimate, like, his greatness. When he goes on the floor, he's the best player on the floor most every night he plays with focus and tenacity.
Yeah, and, you know,
It's not even close.
To me, last year, the fact that he won 2 games against Golden State with that motley crew, that was a motley fun.
The guy averaged 36 points, but 14 rebounds and 9 assists in the series.
And I would say this, the year he got to the finals against San Antonio in 2007,
right,
with 4 guys you couldn't even barely name.
He doesn't play on that team that went to the finals last year, and they play this year. They win 15 games, that team.
They proved that before, right?
How much blame, though, do we give LeBron for Blatt getting him out of there?
Again, unless you're there, you don't know, but I do know this. As an organization, when you fire a coach at 30-11, coming off a finals run, you are really gambling with undermining not only, obviously, that coach, but the next coach, because something happened other than them just saying, hey, we may need to go in a different... No one says we need to go in a different direction, because what direction is there to go except down?
What do you think about Porzingis?
I love Porzingis. Love him.
So do I.
I love everything about, from the time he was drafted, where he didn't get the most welcoming reception, to the start of the year. But what I've liked even more is how he's had this downturn in performance. And not once has he lashed out and blamed other players, coaches, management, nothing. He hasn't, you know, no innuendo about it's anybody but his responsibility to play well. This guy is an absolute stud.
You know what I think? You know what also is very interesting? And we'll let you go in here in a minute. I think the fact that the Bulls can't even make the playoffs tells you how good a coach Thibodeau is. You think Tom Thibodeau would be a game over 500?
Also, sometimes when you go from a tough coach to a soft coach,
that's a good point.
Team does not respond well to that. And
how is the Bulls?
Hoiberg came from college, and he's a players coach and an offensive coach, and you can see the thing's a mess. And I like Hoiberg. He was a good job at college. He did a really good job.
Great job.
Yeah, but he's run into a tough situation there.
Well, first of all, like Thibodeau, all the stuff that their management leaked out to their hand-picked media, I wish I could say what it really is, but this is TV. So I'm going to say it was wrong, like it was nasty, it was rotten, underhanded. But Tom Thibodeau's record speaks for itself.
Yep.
I mean, this guy is a great, great basketball coach. And you know,
so are you. How about you coaching again?
Yeah, listen.
You know, you've been a great coach. You are a great coach. You know that? Would you coach again?
Well, I always say, when you're out of coaching, you miss the 3 C's, all right? And you miss competition, camaraderie, and the third one's not as obvious, charters. Like, you miss the charters, man, because
you don't have a charter when you go there?
No.
You don't have your own plane?
You got these, like, oh my goodness.
You sure you don't have your own plane?
United, come on. But I'm going to say this, you can never get that out of your system, and so I miss coaching. I miss coaching every day. I miss, like, thank you.
No, I mean, listen, I know there's the whole Riley camp and tree and the whole Jackson camp and tree, but I think we should have a little meeting in the minds here and you coach the Knicks again.
Well, thank you.
That's a good one.
Got Porzingis, you can build a team. I think it's time.
Yeah. Well, you know what? One thing you do learn is when you go someplace else, I was absolutely honored every time I walked down that hallway from Red Holtzman office, Pat Riley, you know, all the Hubie Brown, all the great coaches, to walk out that tunnel. There was no thrill like that, particularly.
And this town loved you. You know why? You were a battler.
Absolutely.
You were a tough coach.
They loved you here. He wasn't your typical coach. He was the guy that they could relate to. Blue collar.
Well, and it also helps to have Ewing, you know, behind you.
Yeah, now they learned how good Ewing was. You know that?
No,
yeah,
exactly.
That's it. You know that?
They did this chant once before at Madison Square Garden.
I remember it. Remember the whole building for you? I mean, how good was... Remember the whole Jeff Van Gundy thing? That was unbelievable.
Well, Alan will remember this. It was after we had just swept Atlanta in the second round after Allen's shot beat Miami. And we came in, and they had chanted Jeff Van Gundy, and I was like, what is going on here? And so we sweep them, and we're coming into the locker room afterwards, and Allen, I still remember, was saying, you know, he was trying to get the rhythm of that Jeff Van Gundy, and I said, well, usually it finishes with sucks, but tonight, because of you guys, it ended good. So,
Jeff, great job.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys.
Jeff Van Gundy, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Good job. Thank you,
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for coming.
Nice to
Thank
see
you
you.
very much. Good to see you. See you soon. Thank you. All right, let's go finish out top, dog. Now
we want to thank Empire.
Come on, we got about.
Empire
Before we
Casino,
say
Mike?
goodbye, we got a couple people to thank here before we bid everybody adieu here. Yeah, I think Jeff should come back and coach. I'd like to see that. Now, first of all, thanks to everybody here at the Garden and everybody with the Garden of Dreams and with MSG did a great job.
Great job.
You know, the building, we did, you know, doesn't come out of expenses. The charity gets all the money, so that's a great deal, and we thank everybody for that. Thanks to CBS and the FAN for what they did, and, you know, they still own the name Mike and the Mad Dog. To your guys, I'll let you read this one here.
Scott Greenstein, what a job they did today at Sirius XM Radio,
Another
of
one
course.
there, you can
and,
read that one, too.
Tim Rooney.
And Empire City Casino, they gave a lot of money, so they were a very big sponsor, so we thank them. And obviously, all of you for coming and donating and being part of this Mike and the Mad Dog show, which we thank you very much for doing that. It's been a lot of fun. So you know what? Here we are. So we got a couple of minutes left before we say goodbye. What do you have? Fast, let's hear.
I got a couple things. Since we've been gone,
right?
Tiger Woods has not won a major.
Right.
Is that amazing? He broke his knee when that summer of '08, and he hasn't come close ever since.
You know, his fall from grace is the most remarkable change of performance, either a team or a player, in the history of sports. He went from being one of the most dominant figures in any sport at any time to where he can't win anything, and now he can't play.
Do you think he's going to win another major?
No, I don't. I think you have a better chance that you never see him win another tournament before you see him win another major. I don't think mentally or physically he can do it anymore. I don't think he can even practice. It doesn't seem like he can even get back a week of good practice anymore.
He had the good year 2 years ago, but he lost in the majors.
But he hasn't won a major in forever.
Absolutely.
And I now think, I think for someone who was so dynamic, I just think mentally it's over. He had such an advantage over his playing field, over his competition. He knew he had them beat when he walked in the door. And now I think that's completely gone. I'm not even sure we'll ever see him play again.
I think he'll play, but I agree with you about the major.
But his fall has been one of the most remarkable things we've ever seen.
We were so, you know, I never thought he was going to get the 19 with Nicklaus, and I guess he's probably not going to get it.
You know, I thought he would. When he was, after 2000, I thought he would absolutely blow by Jack Nicklaus. And it's not going to happen.
Right. And for a guy who won 14, he's almost going to be underachieving, because the whole goal was 19.
It's remarkable. And now the sport, as good as it is with these young players, and there's a lot of good young players, but one of them's got to make that transition to being the guy who brings people to the sets and brings people to the galleries, and they don't have that guy yet.
Don't. Spieth doesn't do that.
And Tiger and Phil have filled up they've filled up golf courses, and they've gotten ratings for 20 years, and now nobody's replaced either one of them.
I agree.
That's the tough part, is being the guy to do that.
You can be
now,
great.
Spieth might do it, but Spieth has got to prove he can do it.
You can be great, but that doesn't mean you're going to make people watch.
You have to have presence and a little charisma, and, you know, that's stuff that you don't know if it's going to be there. Even as Spieth, we don't know yet. He won. He was good to watch, but we're going to have to wait and see if he can do it.
Last year, we had a Triple Crown winner.
Yes.
How good a horse is, historically, how good a horse is American?
He was really good. You know what? He was really good, surprisingly good. I'd gotten so used to seeing that it couldn't be done anymore because the training methods have changed so much. He was a remarkable horse, and talking to Baffert, he really thinks the horse was just a freakishly good horse.
But the horse is not Secretariat good.
Not Secretariat.
He's not Seattle Slew good.
He might be Seattle Slew.
He might be Seattle Slew?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he didn't campaign as Seattle Slew did as a 4-year-old. He didn't campaign, but he was impressive. He
really won the Breeders' Cup. Did he win
really, but he's not, Seattle Slew ran as a 4-year-old. So, but it was a different world then. So this horse was really impressive.
Do we have a horse that we're going to look at next month?
I don't think that's fair to think someone's going to duplicate that.
Do we have a big horse, though, as a thing?
Not yet.
Not yet. No. Okay. Here's one that's interesting. Did you get into, I got into it, did you get into Serena at the U.S. Open when she lost? Tennis!
Here's the thing. Now, you love tennis. You love to play tennis. You still go to the U.S. Open every year?
Yeah, I went last year twice.
I mean, do you go to the show and everything?
Show there, yep.
Has anything fallen apart more than American tennis?
Oh, I know.
Where is the next good player? Where is the star?
They don't have one.
Where is the male star? Where's the Jimmy Connors or the John McEnroe? Or even the Jim Courier?
Oh, the Sampras?
Or the Sampras? Where are they?
I don't know. They're not there. And there's nobody on the horizon. I think it's they play other sports.
And no sport pampered its players to the point where they stopped promoting their sport and it killed them. That sport doesn't make their people promote their sport.
No, I never
do. And that's a killer. You got to promote your sport, and those players refuse to do interviews. That's why I never liked going there.
They won't come on. They won't come on. They won't come on. And I don't know where the next great American tennis player is.
I have no idea. But you still like it as much as ever?
Yeah, I do.
Is there a good player you like to watch now?
Oh, it's still Federer.
Still Federer.
You know what the great thing about Federer is? He was dominant for so long and great. Fell off that, no longer the best, and he's still having a heck of a career. A lot of these guys, when they fall off, that's the end of it. All
right, who's in the World Series this year?
The Cleveland Indians.
The Cleveland Indians?
I'm going to take a run at them. The Indians and the Mets, again, 2016.
The Indians and the Mets.
Good pitchers, both teams.
I'll say the Mets and the Blue Jays.
Really? The Blue Jay pitching?
I love the lineup, though.
Well, the lineup is good.
And they're tough. They're tough.
But their pitching is a little
spot. But I think they'll be okay. I like them.
Will the Giants and Jets, will the Jets make the playoffs next year?
They will if they sign a quarterback.
Fitzpatrick. The Giants are a long way away.
No, the Giants will close the gap quick. They bought a lot of good defensive players. They can close the gap really quickly. Hey, you know what? He's got a little bargaining power now this year.
Had a good year. Teams, though.
No, he doesn't have any teams, though. That's the thing. Hey, listen, he needs to go back to the Jets. That's where he belongs.
Absolutely right.
But you know what? You get his money, too.
I mean, does he get
But what do he pay him?
$16 million?
Well, you got $16 million. He'd run to the team right now.
No, they're not going to pay him.
He'd be out of here right now. He wouldn't be sitting there.
Yeah, definitely. Buy the place. Buy the place. Do you think that what's your take on Deflategate, by the way?
He's doing 4 games.
You think these judges are going to rule against?
Absolutely.
You do?
Absolutely.
You think the appellate court's going to go 2-1?
Absolutely.
I hope you're right.
He's going to get 4 games.
I hope you're right. He deserves it.
They hammered him. They hammered him.
But I think he deserves it.
And listen, no one likes the NFL more than me, but can they shut up about what is and what isn't a concussion? They've known for years that it's a dangerous sport. Let the players play, but we all know it's dangerous. I mean, how dumb is Jerry Jones?
Did you like the concussion, the movie?
I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
I read the book.
The movies, it's a good movie.
The book is great. The book is it's got so much stuff in it. They were so bad about this.
Oh, they did a bad job.
But you know what?
Players don't care. They want to play.
The players would play anyway.
They would play anyway.
That's
Absolutely, they would play. All right.
So listen. Anything else?
What's the catch? Yeah, what is the catch?
Listen, we don't have time for that. What is the catch? I mean, we'd be here for a week.
I'm trying to think of anything else.
Anything else?
Anything else?
How about we say thank you?
Yes, why not?
We say a great crowd. Thank you very much. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for your generosity. And who knows, maybe it won't take 8 more years for us to do this again. We'll see. Good job.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Get home safely. Thank you very much.
Adios!
Opening day in a couple of days. We'll see you. Good night, everybody.
Good job.
Mike and the Mad Dog. Sports Radio. surface. No one way of driving on each and every road. But there is one car that can conquer them all. The Mercedes-Benz C-Class. 5 driving modes let you customize the steering, shift points, and suspension to fit the mood you're in and the road you're on. The 2016 C-Class. Lease the C300 for $399 a month at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing.
Hello, beautiful. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Hi, Anthony. How much did my discount double check save me?
About $150.
Done.
I don't have State Farm, but insurance, find me money.
I got you $1.
Oh, you almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. There to help you with unexpected savings. That's getting to a better state.
From puck drop to the final horn, I go behind the scenes with Sam Rosen, the legendary voice of the New York Rangers, only on the Game 365.
It's a power play goal!
It is a Friday morning in December, and the completely transformed Madison Square Garden is poised to welcome its first installment of a traditional rivalry. The New York Rangers are preparing to face off against the New York Islanders, always a big battle in the NHL's Eastern Conference. The morning skate is not only the start of the workday for the players. Some 10 hours before the puck is dropped, one of the most recognizable and long-standing faces of New York Rangers hockey, play-by-play announcer Sam Rosen, is in the midst of his game day routine.
Morning, Don. Good. How are you? Morning, Max. Jerry.
Hey, Sammy. How are you?
Coach. How are you? Michael.
Hey, Sam.
Got a second?
I do.
Tell me what you think. I'm just still not seeing enough guys in on the forecheck banging people.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's a makeup your team. You got to make sure, like any team, you got to be first to pucks, and you got to hold on once you get.